house. I need to know if you'll give me a second chance. They don't come around often, but please, you know I can't stand it when you don't talk to me. When you don't talk to me, yeah. There's something inside, yeah, there's something inside that brings me back to you, yeah. No, I can't hide it. No, I can't hide it anymore. I don't know why, but I can't seem to get you off my mind. And I know it's true, and I'll say this to you, I want you back. There's something inside, yeah, there's something inside that brings me back to you, yeah. No, I can't hide it. No, I can't hide it anymore. Something inside, something inside. Oh, yeah. There's something inside, yeah, there's something inside that brings me back to you, yeah. No, I can't hide it. No, I can't hide it anymore.
Hello, everybody. Time for more Mask of the Rose. So, if you're not on Discord, you might not have heard, but since the last time we played this, they pushed through a major update where they doubled the length of like 2 of the seasons, but we're just not going to restart. They warned us right off the bat when we started the game that their chances were high that we would fail, so we're going to go ahead and fail, and then probably replay with the additional time and see how that changes things. Hi, Jay. So, on that note, let's get right back in and keep playing it. See where we ended up. I don't remember what we were doing last. Oh, it's afternoon. Do we want to build a story? That one's ready to hand in. This one's in progress. And that one's ready to hand in. Okay. Why did I have an exclamation point? I already know all of these things. Weird. Weird. Okay. Let's see. We can go here and give her the plot. We can go here, do the census with Moss. That could be fun. And visit with Horatia. We can build our friendship with Harjeet and ask Harjeet to show us a route. We need to take Archie his provisions. I had some brisket and some potato salad. How about you? We got the plot for Rachel. We need to give it to her. We need to craft a murder case and start asking people. We need to take Grizz to the ruins of Parliament. We need to go find the entrance for the den of rubbery creatures. We need to talk with Archie. We need to do the census. We don't have time to do all of these things, unfortunately. That's one of, like I said, one of the reasons they pushed through the patch of the game is because there's not enough time to get stuff done. I do want to go see Archie, but first, let's see how this works. I don't know. He doesn't seem to care. Oh, wait, he didn't give me that. Did he give me this? No. No, Archie hasn't given me anything. Yogurt and granola. Nice. And popcorn. Well, I hope you get some more, like, actual food. Hi, Harjeet. Good afternoon, Moira. I don't remember what voices I was doing for anyone, so I make no promises. Come straight to the point. I'm here for a reason. New destinations. Oh, I don't have any money. I don't know if he will take me if I have no money. Let's go. Do you know how to get to the Parliament building? I know, but it's not an easy walk. The area wants visitors less than most. I'd be away from my beat for a long time. Ask him to do it as a favor. As a favor? I went with you on your rounds. We'd be leaving people to themselves for a while. But I suppose there are worse things. Yay! I can still do it even though I don't have money. As Harjeet has promised, the walk is not brief. More than once we find ourselves diverted, walking towards the bazaar instead. When we draw near the river, there is a song in the air. The haunting. Air fry some tofu and cooked veggies. Nice. The sunken Parliament. All that remains of the houses. The building has been in the middle of the river since the fall. Afterwards, Harjeet sends me back home to make sure I remember both directions. Be careful if you go, or if anyone from Mrs. Chapman's does. More is changed in that part of London than anywhere else. The streets are twisted into a knot. Tell me whatever you want. He speaks in a low voice, just loud enough for me to hear, but so that anyone even a few feet further would not make out the words. And he tells me about whatever comes into his mind to mention. When he was young, his father was much involved with the politics of the court in Lahore and attached to one particular son of the Maharaja. Now Harjeet unpacks their names from his memory and schools me in their family relationships. At this point, I go back to Horatia's. Go straight to the table. I don't need to change clothes. Forgive me for interrupting everyone. Oh, it's Moss. I have something I'd very much like you all to see. He was asking me about my work with Mr. Page's. I very much hope I am not about to be confronted with a version of him in clay. What did you do, Moss? The dolls are lifelike, but imprinted with cheeky caricatures that reflect the essence of the original. I hope these are to your liking. I took inspiration from a show near Hogs Lane Market I saw. We already saw this, didn't we? It involved marionettes and what I took to be a crocodile. These are entirely charming, Mr. Moss. Yours has her nose in the air, Grizz. I did not notice that. Look, yours is wagging her finger, telling somebody off, no doubt. I believe she is emphatically making a point, that's all. I think these will do nicely, Mr. Moss. Agree with enthusiasm. Yeah, I feel like we saw these already, but they are a fine example of their craft. Oh, and you have so few to compare them to. I think they're wonderful. Indeed, even if I'd seen 1,000, I'd venture I'd find these 3 my favorite. I am glad my work has provided satisfaction. I suppose I have differed from my king's own project in one crucial respect, however. I could not keep from including your particulars in the project. You are also fully formed already. I couldn't help but include your characters. Yeah, maybe it didn't save the last part of the day. This was the correct approach. I think it was the right way to go about it. I am glad. Artistic expression of this kind is not encouraged in Polythreme. The conductor controls the choir, not the other way around. I am glad my humble efforts find favor here. Speaking of which, I must get back to my tasks. I don't wish to give Mrs. Chapman cause to fret. Yeah, I guess it just did an autosave. 294. 11 days remaining in the... Oh, yeah, now... So Yule is already much longer than it was, because I think we only had, like, 4 days left, 3 days left, something like that. 4 days left. I'm the first to the morning paper. The headline today read, Townhouse fire, wild-haired and introspective students rescued. Outbreak blamed on unauthorized hexagonal map. Masters warn against unlicensed cartography. Yeah, we get the extra days this season. We just missed them out in the first season, so we'll see what happens. Okay, I've already got stuff to do, so let's take Grizz to the Parliament ruins. I don't remember why she wanted to go there, but we said we would. It is no trouble convincing Grizz to come with me. We set out together. The journey is not short. Once or twice, I think I forgot the way. But I have recited the landmarks and the turnings to myself until I could hardly forget them. Grizz raises her eyebrows when I make her walk 3 times round the statue of Alfred the Great. But it is the last part of the passage that is most difficult. There is a small ferry that makes runs from the shore to the waterlogged ruins. The fall wasn't kind to this building. It suits the Neath. I've been feeling I should visit. As if it could give me something. As if I could get the spirits of my ancestors to speak to me. It's not just my uncle, you know. I've had family in these houses for generations. A very political family, ours. Ask about her uncle. Were you close to your uncle? What he wanted for me was an advantageous marriage. But he didn't shoo me from the room when he spoke of politics. His best speeches were great thundering things about the incompetence all around him. I made notes of what not to do. The conversation turns to personal matters and the things we still don't know about one another. If you could be rid of one danger from all the dangers the Neath holds, which would you strike out? The danger of being eaten by beasts or the danger of never seeing the sun again? We'll go with that one. The risk, or I fear reality, of never seeing the sun. You share Archie's dread of scurvy. Do you really not mind? Doesn't concern you? You don't miss the sunlight? I fear fresh disasters. The ones already past. Perhaps I simply digest them. Hello? What was that? There's something here that doesn't belong to the surface or to the air at all. Hello? Oh no, it's a drownie. Hear our song, the Melipone Parliament. Niece, niece. Uncle? Hear us. You hear that, don't you? It's not just me. I do. I hear. And you hear the words. At the command of the masters, we held sessions in the honeyed realm. Vote after vote on such matters as the foundation of a labyrinth. I'm just going to listen. We voted on the eradication of foxes and taught the rules of procedure to Mr. Mirrors. But we retired. Then, when we begged to go home, they sent us here to drown. And now, serve at the pleasure of the Fathom King. The song compels. I could stay here. I could stay here always. Why do you serve at the pleasure of the masters? Why do they not come here and submit themselves to question time? We need to go. Don't just stand there. We need to go now. She all but drags me out. The singing grows louder as we go, as though more voices were joining in. Why did you want to go to the Parliament again, miss? She says nothing on the walk home, nothing until we get all the way to the door of the house. Don't tell anyone about that for now, if you don't mind. I don't want to answer questions. Grizz, what are you up to? Bye. All right. That was wild. I don't know what we just did, but let's go say hi to Archie. Take Archie his drug supplies. Archie, we brought you the stuff. Can we ask you questions? Oh, right. Dressed like this, I should only visit the prison hulk with Harjeet's escort. The locals might leave me alone, but equally they might decide I look too tasty not to rob. I'm going to change my clothes into this. Okay. I can sneak over to the Hulk without Harjeet and visit Archie on my own. None of the locals will bother me, and I probably won't be kept aboard. Probably. Let's go! Hi, Archie. Oh, you're taking a risk coming here with that Harjeet. If you don't watch out, they'll pack you up in the ungulate beside me. And then where will we be? Oh, mention the townhouse fire. I recount the newspaper story. There was a terrible fire resulting from the ownership of illegal maps. Oh. Seems that maps may spontaneously combust, or so the masters are warning at any rate. I make the story as engaging as I can. Plenty of detail, and a fair sprinkling of dramatic pauses. I won't be forgetting the fall in any hurry. Move lightly to new topics. I laugh, but let the subject drop. At night, on the ungulate, sometimes you can hear things singing in the water. Yeah, they're drownies! I'd heard them before, but never as clear as this. Mention my own encounter. I'd take caution. I've met them myself once. They would have sung me into the water if they could have. If they could sing us out of the hulk, we'd all have gone long since. Ask whether there are words. Are there words? Lyrics? Aye. Most nights I cannot remember them by morning. Just sometimes a half-side of a kingdom underwater. Deep green water and a throne without a king. Here you go. I brought you drugs. Brought you your ingredients. Take these. They might not seem much to use down here, but if you need to go where you won't be recognized, they're useful when it comes to keeping prying eyes away. And taking a dark view of things in general. Yay! I got these before. Aye, well done. You found more of these than I thought you could. You're welcome, Archie. Horatia has not been to visit. You did not know why. I'd hate to think she believes I'm guilty. No, she hasn't left the house. I'm sure that's not the reason. It's nay what I would have thought she'd do. She's always said a great deal about us all being like family to her. For all the family don't pay rent. Oh. Is it often as you have in mind to... There's no much entertainment within. I love him. Okay. Let's go change back into our apron or something. Yeah, now I have these. That was the last thing I'd done last time. When it, for some reason, didn't save. Alright, let's go! Horatia arrives late to supper. What's on your boots, Horatia? It looks like milk and it smells like a sewer. Don't go into the basement. I know about the tentacle thing. It's not only that. The tentacle won't harm you, but there's a bit of a mess. The floor down there is flooded. I moved everything to higher shelves. Offer my help. Is there anything I can help with? Only if you want to help carry buckets of nasty water out of the basement. So we form a bucket line. Horatia insists on taking the basement position. She still wants no one else to enter. But I stand on the stairs and take buckets from her and carry them out to the gutter. They do not smell like ordinary water. My eyes burn. Oop. Swung in for a second and then left again. All right, so we still need to go visit Rachel with our plot. Ask people about the murder, but I haven't seen a chance to do that yet. We need to go see the rubbery creatures. We need to go talk to Archie. Oh, we need to do more census stuff. Okay. 10 days remaining. Yeah, I thought we got to do 3 things a day, but I forgot it's really just 2. I get to the morning paper after Grizz is done with it. The headlines today read, Swedish sailor's mission offers aid. Sustenance to squid-faced men. All right. Let's see. Where do we want to go? Oh, we could take the census with Ferret. Interesting. I don't care about Theophilus, I'm going to be honest. I think we're going to go take Rachel the plot work. There you go, I made you a story. You have a visitor. I hoped Phoebe would stay, in fact. As you like. Mention the work of the Swedish Sailor's Mission. I recount the newspaper story. The Swedish Sailor's Mission is rendering assistance to certain squid-faced men. I make the story as engaging as I can. Plenty of detail and a fair sparkling of dramatic pauses. They're not all bad, you know, devils. Besides, some of them aren't interested in anything so vulgar as souls. Some prefer high pleasures, such as conversation. Aha. The church will struggle with this, and good riddance to them. Rachel nods along, even finishes a few of my sentences for me. What are your origins? What sort of people do you come from? I can guess a few things from your clothes and your voice, but there are contradictions. Talk about the inventive side of tailoring. I speak of my family's background and the fine people we had the honor to dress. I talk about it, the invention of new styles, and the challenge of finding the right ambassadors to wear them. Don't let it go to your head, but I find you impressive. It will pass, don't worry. Thanks, Rachel. It seems I have passed some test. Offer my happy plot. Here you go. I lay out the plot as I've arranged it, especially in the neat conclusion. This ends very cheerfully. Yes. I need to write more chapters. They will require some source of difficulty. We begin in one predicament and we end in another. You left out the second predicament. You've brought the story to a standing stop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should have realized. I know the requirements of the author may seem odd to the layperson, but if I sit down to write and I don't have a suitable incidents in my mind, nothing will go right. The characters will talk themselves in circles. I'm going to talk about your artistic friends. I don't care about Milton all that much. Rachel's conversation circles back to Milton's salon, which is plainly the source of most of her social engagement. At first, he wouldn't entertain anyone who painted or sketched, or worse yet, committed acts of sculpture. He said you couldn't tell enough about the souls of the characters, and it wasn't interesting to him if it didn't afford a view. But he was converted out of that view by the contribution of the Solomons, especially Simeon, who, according to Milton, makes all his painted heroes into a temptation and a reproach. After that, the rules against visual representation were somewhat relaxed, and the company grew more mixed. The business of the salon is evidently central in Rachel's existence, and at the same time it is the one thing that David will not allow her to discuss at home. I love that we got to keep her here, but, we don't get to talk to her or anything. As far as I see, there's no impact on her being here. So she tells all of it to me, never tiring of its personalities and its particular etiquette, so unlike the manners of her own family. I should be elsewhere. My publisher will be sending around a messenger at any moment. Look after yourself, citizen. I'm in a hurry to change. Okay. Okay, I need to do this better. Spoiled Beauty and the Adventuress met in a literary salon of infernal origins where the Spoiled Beauty was honing her craft. The Adventuress was hoping for a fortune and went about looking for a way to it. Maybe. Sure. All right, let's see. Let's do the publishing. Find out how to do the publishing. I'm going to change back into the prisoners. There we go. Oop, I didn't mean to click that one. There we go. He says this every time we come back to visit. And flirt. Flirt, flirt, flirt. I imagine we were destined to meet. If London hadn't fallen, we would have met on the surface instead. I'm sure of it. It had to be. He gives me a funny, lopsided look, like it just occurred to him that something could have ever go well in his life. Aw. Have you found someone to stand in for me, Air? I've been keeping a hammock warm for the true culprit if you can find him. I'm trying. I don't know how to do it, though. I'm nearly there. I found out some very interesting things. Aye? So I can come home soon, then? We'll see. And remember what I taught you, aye? When you're crafting a theory and there's something you don't know, figuring out which bits are still unknown, that'll let you ask the right questions. I'm trying. There are things I'd like to share with the publisher you have. Some additional thoughts I've come across. We'll need some of them might different now. Not just to tell the truth, something more in nature a call to act, a manifesto, so to say. If you can think of what's best to tell folks. But we cannot move too slowly. Silence falls. Kiss. Kiss, kiss, kiss. You're standing awfully close. Back in Scotland, a person might take it as an amorous advance, standing so close. Maybe. London manners, of course. You might just be practicing for the omnibus. Just gonna kiss him. Archie kisses as though I might be the thing that saves him. I'm trying! I'm probably gonna fail, but I'm trying. As though this might be an experimental cure. Ask how he's feeling. What would you say were the effects of that trial? A success? Is the patient improved? Oh, well, first dose has a notable effect, but you know it's always best to follow a regimen. Doses on successive days and plenty of observation. We stay like this for a long time until we're forced to remember that the rest of the world is out there. Gotta get stuff done. I'm trying, Archie, I'm trying. But it hasn't even given me the opportunity to ask people anything. I'm changing my clothes and go to dinner. I feel like I'm not getting anything done. Archie's absence is a coldness in the air. I've been getting new supplies. New supplies, yes. A humid, fleshy odor rises from the basement if I stop in the stairwell. A scent like hot bacon and the sweetness of ripe fruit. I am forbidden to visit. We are all always forbidden to visit. No, I have to have most of a full story, but with like an unknown in there. And I thought I had that. Each day's meal is finer, richer, more exotic. It isn't just the meat. There are spices I've never tasted before. Make sure to help clear the dishes after eating. When the meal is over, I give Horatia a hand, clearing up. Good of you, my friend. Alright. Yeah, theories about the ministry. So I have to craft a manifesto. A plot, a murder case. Craft a murder case that is complete but contains unknowns for the questions I still want to ask. Interrogate witnesses, refine the case, confront the culprit. Ask Karjeet for guidance to the den of rubbery creatures. Hmm. 9 days remaining. Headline today reads, Inventor proposes building a balloon to visit whatever is above. That's gonna go poorly, probably. Oh, that's the one I have ready to hand in. Back. Oh, I had this way more filled out. Weird. Yeah, I had this way more filled out. God, what do we know about the Carringhams again? They're related to Rachel and David. Let's see. I feel like we learned something about them, but it's not in here anymore, and I can't go back at the log. Maybe I'm just completely wrong. Oh, did it? Yeah, I loved Charlotte before she came Lady Carringham. Okay. And we know that Phoebe... It's not walking out with anyone, but she kind of hinted that she had a crush on David. Do we want to go with the Carringhams? What do you think? What kind of a story should we build? want Milton. No, I want something about David. Hmm. I don't know. What are you thinking? Hmm. Let's try that one. Yeah. Let's try that. But also, we need to do this one too. Mr. Pages knew the Neath had changed. Mr. Pages knew that the Neath was unsafe and unpredictable, and it sought to gather the only possible bulwark, tales of love and devotion. The typical Londoner was determined to preserve London. The citizens of London contrived an inventive form of rebellion and self-protection. Master Pages, you're right, sorry. MR is Mr. in my brain solidly. I don't think I've ever seen Master being abbreviated as MR anywhere. Alright. Ooh, interview David. Tell me, why would Archie try to kill you? Let me put a black coat on. Let's try that. You find me taking counsel and avoiding my house, which is full of things I would rather not remember. Enter the proposed balloon scouting. I recount the newspaper story. An ambitious inventor, building on the ideas of Montgolfier, has proposed a balloon trip to scout out whatever is above London. Oh. Master Fires is said to have forbidden the development. I make the story as engaging as I can. Plenty of detail and a fair sprinkling of dramatic pauses. The changes we are living through, extraordinary. I keep looking for some logic or rationale behind them. I find I can't surrender to unreason so easily. speak of a need to study the Neath's secrets. This is a case for scholars and scientists, if there ever was one. The sooner we can get to the understanding of how things work down here, the better off we'll be. David nods along and even finishes a few of my sentences for me. David digresses into a little story about the population down near Tentergrounds. There are fewer beggars than there used to be. I'd like to think that was a good thing, but I fear some of them may have died. Get his permission to ask some questions. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Being murdered is a surprisingly intimate experience. It's not something I care to explore in depth with all and sundry. Talk about upholding the law? The law has cracked somewhat. It requires a touch of volunteer assistance. There are uniformed constables now for good reason. It doesn't fall to every citizen to try to enforce the Queen's order. I'm not just any citizen. I have a reason to be interested, and at the same time, I am not especially close to either you or to your sister. I am more impartial than your friends could be. We haven't known one another terribly long. I'll answer your questions on one condition. If you find that it was Archie, you'll tell the constable the truth. Whoever it was, you'll tell the truth. He does not conveniently appear to expect an answer. Quiz David on whether Phoebe had a motive. I don't suppose your housekeeper had motive to kill you? No. That's all? No. No. It's a preposterous idea. I know the newspapers are full of such stories. Harmless old couple poisoned in their beds by scheming ungrateful maid. Phoebe is not ungrateful. She's part of the household. The third member of the pair, if that doesn't sound too peculiar. I don't see how it would have happened, but I might be able to believe in an accident. Still seems improbable, but perhaps Phoebe could have done the thing by mistake, and then been afraid to own it afterwards. Asked David to recount the day of the murder to me again. I was wondering whether you could tell me again what happened on the final day. You've heard it already, haven't you? I had been ill for days, and I woke up late not feeling well. That seamstress of Rachel's was already in the house. All the sounds were too loud that day. Phoebe's footsteps on the stairs might have been Hannibal's entourage coming over the Alps. I remember the bell ringing again for Milton and again for Archibald. I was relieved when he turned up. His medicine had generally been a comfort to that point. If you think Archie did it, do you have any notion why? Had you fought at all? Were you at odds? I don't think so, though I've had time to think about it afterwards. A great deal of time to think about it. Once he made some comment on missing his family, and I may have been inconsiderate in saying how happy I was in my own family. I know how slight a motive that would be. That hardly seems cause for murder. Murder? It's not even a cause to throw a drink over you. In the ordinary course of things, I'd agree, of course, but he seemed distressed. Silent and brooding, and like someone who is drawing deep on the inner resources. Though at the time I assumed it was grief he was trying to conceal, and not rage. Yeah, seamstress, Phoebe, Milton, Archie. Yeah. There's a short silence. He did ask if I could take him back to the surface. We spoke a little bit about my plans to go back above. He seemed very keen to come along. Only Archie was in the house when he was murdered, I think is what he said before. I didn't make any promises, but I didn't say I wouldn't do it either. But in that case, he would have wanted you to live, in order to perform this task that he very much wanted done. I would think so, but I can find no rational reason, so I am thrown back on an expression of strong feeling at all. Unless there's an irrational reason, I don't see how it would have happened, but I might be able to believe in an accident. It still seems improbable, but perhaps Archibald could have done the thing by mistake, and then been afraid to own it afterward. I wonder whether someone other than Archie added poison to your medicine. Archie might not have had any part in it. Why poison the medicine rather than something else? Surely it would be risky. If he noticed them tampering with the bottle, they'd have no good excuse. Maybe they thought it was the smaller risk to take, since it would be Archie who hanged for my murder. It's clever, I grant you, but in that case, almost anyone might have done it. I still think Phoebe was involved. You think she had a reason strong enough to make her kill me? Phoebe is a happier soul than most. to have the temperament for bitterness, for vengeance like that. I think I would have hurt her very badly. I don't see how it would have happened, but I might be able to believe in an accident. Still seems improbable, but perhaps Phoebe could have done the thing by mistake, and then been afraid to own it afterwards. Ah, of course. Trust me, I have known these people much longer than you. One speaks for a moment. I needed to get away from the house for a moment. We've had reporters on my resurrection from the newspapers. We've had medical men. We've had an artist who wanted to capture an eyewitness account of Death's appearance for his next painting. But above all, we have received half of Jewish London. Recommend acquiring a fierce butler. This may call for more household defense than Phoebe can provide. Thanks, Moira. There's a rabbi who is very concerned that I might start some Frankist heresy. And here a young man who is convinced I was sent back to life because I had left some duty unfinished the first time. Most of all, they want my death to be an explanation for their lives. So they come to me for something that I cannot give. Ask my advice about their troubles when I've never been an expert in my own. Touch my elbow as though the fabric of my coat had something holy to impart. And all I can tell them is, I understand death less now than I ever did. When it was a bound on our lives, that meant something. It gave us just enough time to have our children and tell our stories. If you can return, it signifies nothing at all. Thank you, David, for trusting me. I'm glad you told me that. You're welcome. So is it maybe not Phoebe, but maybe it's either Ivy or Milton? Because Milton might have done it if they were fighting over Rachel. I still don't know what, like, Milton wants from Rachel. Or perhaps Ivy could have done it to somehow try to get access to the fortune. But I don't know. When you had passed over, what happened then? I was truly dead. I found myself on a riverboat drifting towards a far shore. There were others aboard. Old men and women still wearing nightcaps as though they had died in bed. A workman with his body half crushed. I felt the companionship of all the souls that have passed that way, or who will again. Do you suppose that you were going to an eternal reward, or the opposite? I don't believe in such places. I never did, and nothing I saw on that boat changed my mind. As for the boatman, he told me that I need not stay, that I might come back to London if I would only offer him a small gift. I think what I saw was only a journey, and that there was a farther shore, but I did not reach it. We should bring this visit to a close. I'm not feeling well enough for this. I do not like David. The thought hits me, but I don't show it. I have time for another errand today. Made honest mistake, begged passage to the surface. See, if the devil could have done it, maybe because they fought over, or because, like, what he said is, like, the artist wanted to come and paint, was, like, inspired. Maybe he could use a scandal. No, he didn't fight Archie over Rachel. Or what if it was Rachel? No, okay, Rachel didn't fight Archie about Milton. Rachel doesn't care about Milton. Archie bought rare and strange ingredients for use in drugs, imagining the social uproar to follow. Milton told him a concoction of lies and encouragement that stirred up his resentment against David. Then Archie blamed David for every misfortune. He poisoned David with arsenic disguised as medicine. Let's try that one. Interview Phoebe about how I don't want to talk to Rachel because Rachel would be like, he would never. And she is the one that pointed the finger at Archie in the first place. He wanted to speak again. Just a moment. I wait while she finishes her chores enough to take a moment with me. Oh. I say my greetings and stop. Did Rachel tell you about the second corpse? The night after David died, there was a dead body outside the servants' entrance. Excuse me, what? What the fuck? It looked like it had been going through our rubbish. It was stone dead, face down on the rubbish heap. Only, when I say face, that's exactly what it hadn't got. Just a mass of, I don't even know what, meat for the front of its head. How terrifying, my goodness, what a ghastly creature. It fair made my skin crawl. What the fuck is happening? What happened to the deceased? That's... To tell the truth, I wouldn't have thought of it of her. But Rachel Landau has more stomach than most. She put a bag over its head so it wouldn't give everyone such a turn, and then she and the others washed the body just like they'd done David's, and paid for it to be buried at the Christian grave. Ask how they knew the religion of the corpse. Was the deceased a Christian? Oh, as to that, you just have to guess in such circumstances. There was not so much as a coin or a scrap of paper in his pockets. That's if he was a person to start with, which I don't know. Rachel Landau said vermin must have got hungry and ate his face right off his body. But he didn't look like a normal person that's been a bit nibbled. What the fuck? Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. I don't think they'd want me to. David and Rachel, I mean. Is David answering your questions? Yes, he is. If he can stand it, I suppose I can. I'm so glad we talked to David first, then. Talk about Milton's possible motives. Would Milton have had a reason to kill David? Not a reason that would have mattered to any civilized person. But the two of them didn't care for one another. Milton was always hanging around Rachel and prying into people's business. And I'd not put it beyond him to kill David out of malice. As motives for Archie. Did you ever see a reason why Archie would have killed David? I would have said Mr. Reed liked it at the Landau's house. He missed his own sister. He mentioned her once or twice when he was visiting. He said David was lucky to have Rachel still about. So he was jealous of David Landau? I wouldn't have said that. No one speaks for a moment. I have not forgiven Rachel for going to dig up David without me. If she'd given me the word, I'd have been there with a shovel. Yeah, Phoebe's got feelings for David, obviously. I see. It's not such a lot to ask, is it? To want to be there when the head of my household, my employer, comes back to the land of the living? Or at the very least, to be woken up when they bring him home? What? Never tell me they didn't wake you. What villains? That's my own view, thank you very much. I didn't come to know of David Landau's recovery from death till I went to serve Miss Landau her breakfast, and there he was, sat on the end of her bed like a wandering ghost. If I'd fainted dead away, it would have been no less than they deserved. Phoebe came to live with the Landaus some years ago, more than 5, I would guess, but fewer than 10. She has become, in that time, a precise farmer's almanac regarding all of her employers' habits and predilections. She is able to say which meals Rachel Landau is likely to order when she has just fallen in love, which books David Landau reads when distressed, and which belong to a cheery state of mind. She lays tidbits of this information before me, selected primarily on how peculiar, alien, and ridiculous Phoebe considers a trait to be. But these affection mundanities are the substance of her life. There's laundry waiting, and the bats won't do it. Phoebe and I should be friends. Thought hits me, but I don't show it. Why was there a dead body, Rachel? What the fuck are you doing? Now I have to go talk to Rachel about this. How is the new feast coming along? The masters have been planning a celebration for the whole city to coincide with Valentine's Day. The organization is a disgrace. The supplies are insufficient, and their distribution through the city leaves a great deal to be desired. Excellent. I beg your pardon? It just sounds so invigorating for you, Miss Griselda. Commend Grizz's efforts. It's good that you're working so hard on this. Once it's finished, there will be another task at least equally difficult, and possibly with even less of a purpose. Help with the dishes. I am even more confused now. Ask people for ideas for Archie's manifesto. Craft the manifesto and take it to him. Craft a plot for the next novel. I'm going to just keep chasing down these suspects, man, because I'm like, what the hell? There's so much to do and not enough time to do it! I'm looking forward to playing this game again when I have time to get stuff done. I'm the first to the morning paper. The headline today reads, Sylvester Lovelace preaches against the ignoble practice of soul donation. Sermon transcribed on page 3. Okay. I do get the extra days this season, you're correct, but I still don't feel like I have enough time. Yeah, I don't think I have anything new for this. I don't know. I just want to go talk to people right now. I'm like, hey. Hey, Rachel, what the fuck is this about a dead body? You have a visitor. I'll wait for Phoebe to go. I talked to you yesterday. I pause and look in Phoebe's direction. Mention the sermons of Sylvester Lovelace. I recount the newspaper story. A certain Sylvester Lovelace has been preaching far and wide against the donation of souls. I make the story as engaging as I can. Plenty of details and a fair sprinkling of dramatic effect. Rachel lets this sink in. Move lightly to new topics. I laugh but let the subject drop. Silence falls. Rachel brings up a legend, common amongst the servant classes, that the Neath contains many other fallen cities. They say it's just the way the floor of the deep ocean is covered with bones. When a leviathan dies, it sinks to the bottom, and there is no one to bury it. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Yes. Is David answering your questions? He is. If he can stand it, I suppose I can. You were here the night David returned, so you recall what happened on the day. If you could tell me again. David stayed in bed all day. Ivy Fitzclarret had come to make over some of my gowns. That was in the morning. A little later, Mr. Reed came to see David. While he was here... she's not mentioning Milton. David mentioned Milton being there, but she didn't. She went from Ivy to Archie. While he was here, well, I don't remember the exact order. Oh, but Milton also paid a call. We didn't speak long. I was preoccupied, and I thought his visit was untimely. After everyone had gone, David took ill. We could hear the noises from a distance. It was violent, horrible. When I reached him, he was still alive for a few minutes, but he was already passing. Then, everything happened quickly. Whoa. He was dead, the magistrate called. Glad you wrote down what David said? Yeah. You know about the inquest. Did David have enemies? I've asked myself. There are cousins, of course. There's a surface estate that David inherited. They wrote to us when contact was made again. But how would they have killed him? A poisonous letter? One reads of such things, the paper impregnated with poisons. A document that Phoebe or I brought to David in its envelope, neither of us knowing what it was until he opened it. But no, it's Gothic. Is it possible that Milton did this? He didn't go into David's bedroom on that day. They weren't on friendly terms. And whatever David said, Milton didn't mean us any harm. How far did the dislike go? David thinks Milton is a person of loose morals and tastes, and he has to be too ill himself to accompany me to any of Milton's salon. Why do you keep doing that? He imagines that it is all ladies of the demi-monde peeling grapes for the gentleman. Instead of a company of well-dressed men and women debating the emergence of a new apocalyptic tradition in art, and debating whether one might include London's graffiti among the examples. Did Milton and David fight, as far as you know? Not if you're picturing fisticuffs or duels in the alley. For the most part, it was cutting aside here and there. It was a cutting aside here or there. For the most part, there was something beyond asides then. Make it easier for her. I don't judge. If your brother was trying to protect you, and it gave rise to an argument that would be entirely understandable, customary even. Rachel hesitates. David did confront Milton once when he was visiting. He asked his intentions and suggested that he might forbid Milton to visit. David is not well enough to try to force Milton out himself. And we don't have as many servants as we did. Phoebe could hardly drag Milton out of the house herself. Milton said a few words. They must have been in English, but I didn't understand them. David was as confused as I was. But then I saw in the mirror in our parlor the image of a different David, pale white and waxen, staring out from beyond the glass. The reflected David mouthed some words. We couldn't hear them. They were silent as a dream, but we could see that the reflection spoke with a split tongue. David and I stood there looking at it for a moment, and then it was gone. I don't know what happened. What the image was, or what it meant, or whether Milton summoned it, or whether it came of its own accord. It's not the first time down here that I've heard of someone seeing something in the mirror that isn't there. But David was as quiet as though he had been rebuked. He didn't say anything else to Milton. What was the relationship between David and Archie? Did they fight? Were they on bad terms? Not at all. They had not been acquainted long enough to be close friends, but they found some common ground. Both are great readers of elderly books. When word came of the reconnection with the surface, Archie was very interested in David's plans to return. David may even have promised to take him back up there. There is a brief lull in the conversation. You find me at a difficult time. Oh? My publisher writes to say that if I do not produce chapters more quickly, I will be replaced. He'll hire someone to complete the novel according to his best sense of its current trajectory. His! And do you know who it is my publisher thinks to assign? I think that's Mr. Huffman. Mr. Huffman. A man and a Christian, of course. He'll cram the story full of orphans and moral improvements. But my publisher says Mr. Huffam is reliably timely in the production of new pages. Whatever one says, he cannot be faulted for speed. I place no hope whatever in his being able to render my characters. However, I wouldn't put it past him to make my heroine convert. If you can find it in you to speed along your ideas, I would be immensely grateful. And believe me, I do know how much I am asking. The wellspring is dry, and I am meant to have a gift for this. I explain what I have in mind. How wretched. We're approaching the end of the story. Something more terrible must happen. Let us say she receives word from the Cumaean Canal. Her former betrothed is alive and well and has married someone much wealthier than she was. No one speaks for a moment. We're filling the ministry's desire for tales of desire and love, at least. Rachel does look graceful. Rachel adds a proper payment. Express my most wild and profuse gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 1,000 blessings on you. Think nothing of it. This will be the last chapter, so give it a good ending, eh? And I'll pay a little extra this time. You might think that Milton's critique would put people off. But it is the critique that brings people to the event. If he were not sharp, no one would come. We all hate the burden of our readers, those of us who are being published at all. It is such a relief to write, not only for the broad and toothless mass, with their arbitrary and conflicting preferences, but for one specific, precise, and narrow target. Then she caricatures for me several of Milton's most devoted and least effective devotees. The subject occupies us for most of an hour. There's a chapter waiting for me to finish. Look after yourself, citizen. I didn't get to ask her about the dead body. Envenomed post. Handed David the letter. Disliked David. Planned to return to surface. Despised Archie. Who despised Archie? Alright, let's see this one. Grizz jilted David. Okay. Spoiled Beauty struggled with the knowledge that her long-lost betrothed had married someone else. The man of business encountered her in the midst of this gloom. The man of business regretted past relationships. Spoiled Beauty did something to the man of business. The man of business did something in response. Let's read this one, see what it says. A spoiled beauty struggled with the knowledge that her long-lost betrothed had married someone else. The man of business encountered her in the midst of this gloom. The man of business was in love with no hope of return. A spoiled beauty did something to the man of business. The man of business immediately fled London. Wait, I thought the beauty fled London. Man of business never returned from the far shore. Spoiled beauty wrestles with regrets. I don't know. These don't fully make sense to me. She did want a tragic ending, you're right. This is what I don't get. If I set this action as forgave all, a spoiled beauty forgave the man of business. But if I set this as fled London, the spoiled beauty did something and the man of business fled London. Why? Why does it work like that? That makes no sense. Whatever. This is kind of tragic. I don't know. This game's kind of weird. Let's see. Let's try this. No, I don't think it was David. I'm gonna leave it on Milton for now. Archie wanted to save as many patients as possible. Milton had fought Archie over Rachel. No, again, he didn't. He fought David over Rachel. Archie begged David for passage to the surface. Imagining the social uproar to follow, Milton told him a concoction of lies and encouragements that stirred up his resentment against David. Then Archie made an honest mistake through no fault of his own. He poisoned David with arsenic disguised as medicine. Milton eagerly looked forward to the scandal of David's demise. Milton last saw David when bringing him his post for the day. No, he didn't bring the post. So we know that. Okay, we'll leave it at that for now. Interesting that I can interview David for motives about Milton in 2 places. No. You're right. No. Milton doesn't go to the surface. The thing is, though, none of these other ones make sense. Because my only other options are novelized the affair, plan return to the surface, sold contraband, or took treatments. So I'm missing a motive here. Or it's somebody else entirely. I guess. But doesn't he always buy his stuff from... Doesn't he always buy his stuff from Ferret? Or maybe he doesn't always buy it. But why would Ferret murder him? I don't think Ferret even knows him. No, Archie presumably didn't buy the poison. Somebody... I think this letter is interesting, though. So, like, if that's a way... Where was the letter? Which slot was that in? Where was the letter? I know it was in here somewhere because we just clicked it earlier. Oh, handed David letter. There we go. I don't know. I'm so stuck right now. It's interesting that they haven't given me the, like... That we've got so many pieces that don't fit on this structure. 'Cause, like, the cousins from onshore sent the letter, but I don't think the letter was poisoned. Because, again, like, why would they do that? David had been rather inconsiderate about Archie's, like, distress over missing his family. But he also, like, promised to bring him... Or he hadn't promised, but he, like, was left in the air of whether or not he was going to bring Archie to the surface with him when he went. I don't think Rachel has a reason to kill her brother. Because, like, they fight all the time, but, like, whatever. The only one that, for me, makes sense is Milton. And as a, like, this will be it. You're an annoyance to me, and this will at least bring some interest. But I don't know how to structure that. All right, I don't know. We could go talk to Ivy because she was there, right? The risk of going to see Ivy hatless is that she might very well try to sell me a new one. Good afternoon, citizen. I hope the cold isn't getting to you too much. I'm flirt with her. One smirk from you, Ivy, and I was lost. It's entirely devastating. My, you talk like you could turn a girl's head. You missed a spot of color this morning. A man came in with a basket of so-called fish. Mobbed he was, sold for 10 guineas each. But they wasn't fish. Cold and wet and slippery, maybe, but not fish. Oh. I don't know what they were. I just know what they weren't. I had a question or two for you. Where I come from, we don't inform for free. You want me to remember something? It'll cost you 2 pence. Well, I have 2 coins, so... Fair enough. I hear you were at the Landau house the day David died. So I was. Not that I knew it was his last day at the time. I was there to refurbish 1 or 2 of Rachel's gowns for her. It used to be your Rachel Landau's would never have their old gowns made over. But new cloth is dearer than a hen's teeth now. You didn't see David while you were there. He was rested, not well enough to receive visitors. I did see Archie arrive. He might have left his bag of medicines unwatched for a time. But that's not what I was there for, was it? But you had no reason to kill him off yourself. I don't give secrets, I sell 'em. There'd be nothing in it for me. Unless you think I've a dislike of gentlemen that I'm clearing them out of the neath. Do you know who killed David? No one's made me a confession of his murder, if that's what you're asking. Not sure what I'd do if they had. I've been listening to secrets people want to be rid of. I heard of an old Neath ritual of Hallowmas, and I thought it'd be a quick money spinner. But quite a few dark things came in. I don't care to be giving away every confession I heard. Is there anyone else in the household you would suspect? You're determined it can't have been the doctor, then. There are 1 or 2 feuds in that house, but none that I'd say take this course. Did David have any enemies? All the world knows the answer to that. Rachel Landau put him in her novel, didn't she? Him and his jilt Charlotte and her new husband, Lord Carringham. She has no idea of the value of a secret, that Rachel. It's no easy thing, Rachel's business. I've had a little to do with it myself. You can hardly help pulling in people you've met here and there. Meat pie's gone scarce down here unless you mince a body up. But no law says you have to dine on pies. Lord Carringham's been suffering from the whispers in his circle. All about how his pretty young wife, Jewishish as was, is pining in her heart for the man she used to love, and how she regrets her wedding to a chinless Christian stick. All the while, Charlotte's telling him how loyal and faithful and true she is to her lord and master, but she's distressing to catch the eye of half the men who pass. Oh, she's dressing. And what's more, she's setting me to carrying letters secretly to David Landau, telling him she's still in love with him, begging him for a moment to speak. Time came, and I told Lord Carringham the truth. Not very long before David's death, that would have been. That sounds like a motive to me. It sounds as though he had a good reason to kill David. Carringham isn't a man for taking his own back. Weak liver in that man. When I showed him the copies of her letters, off he goes sick. Cast up his accounts right there with me in the room. But then he says he's sorry for his wife. Sorry for her? And what must he do but take her away as quick as may be so she won't be tormented any more? Or tempted to break the vows she made at the altar or at the font. That was a treasure he found, that phrase, for Charlotte's honor. Once he hit upon it, he kept saying it. I pointedly suppressed my laughter. The joke of it faded away afterward. Will you take my confession? There's a right I need use of, even if it isn't the season. I'll teach you the words to let me speak my mind. I will hear you. Not here. She takes a mask from her stall and puts it over my face. This is a right to do in the dark, and with a change or two in the words. I catch only a glimpse of it before she ties it in place, a bright and scowling sun. We have a mask now! In a few minutes, we are standing together in shadow, and she has told me all I need to know to play my part. I'm here to carry the weight you need to put down. Tell me a way you have failed yourself, and I will take it away. It will be yours for as long as you live, however long that may be. I'm not afraid to put the knife in them that earned it. I take what's mine, and I take what ought to be mine. But what I'd done to Lord Chinless Carringham, it wasn't a judgment, and it wasn't commerce neither. He'd suffered good and well from Rachel Landau's spite. Her pride was hurt when her brother was spurned, so she put his family name in the muck. Call it art or whatever else you want to say, but that's what it was if you ask me. And what I done to him was spite just as much as hers. I can call it what else I like, but in the dark, truth is, I took against Charlotte. I struck at her, and it was him I hit. It's nothing to do with what's happened to David Landau since, but it's a thing I've done that's better left undone. Say the words that come next. Ivy, I will carry this self-recrimination for you. God damn it. What you have done, you have recognized and set aside. You do not need to fear that you will betray yourself in the same way again. I take off the mask, ending the ritual. Achievement unlocked, Confessor. Ask whether it helped. Was it helpful? You did well, I think. Not too solemn, but no giggling either. You don't want to be putting people in mind of popery, but you want them to know you take it serious. The good rites have a spectacle to 'em, but they still keep your feet on the ground. Otherwise, they're too far from life to do a speck of good after. Okay. By now, Horatio will be wondering where I am. Swap drugs for poison, sent adulterous letters, was hired by someone rich, loved David. That's some juicy tidbits to play with. New ships have come to the Wolfstack docks today. Which are those, Miss Griselda? The same they ever were. I'd forgotten how London streets go together. All the names have changed. When the meal is over, I give Horatio a hand cleaning up. All right. We need to go talk to Rachel again. I don't really care about the manifesto, I'm going to be honest right now. Discover the culprit and help repair their wrongs. Tentacled creatures. Census. Ooh. What do we do with these new juicy tidbits? Where to put them? I get to the morning newspaper after Grizz is done with it. The headline today reads, Pigeon population at St. Paul's eradicated by overhunting. Well, yeah, if everybody's like starving. There's like 2 more I could be doing. Interesting. The Carringham's plural. Love David. No. Yeah, the Kerrigans definitely didn't. Well, now I could go with Rachel. The was hired by someone rich is interesting. Guess Ivy. What do you think about that? Archie wanted to save... repair their wrongs. Isn't gonna Archie out of prison? Interesting. Archie wanted to save as many patients as possible. Ivy worked for Lord Carringham. Archie undertook to treat David Landau. Ivy swapped rat poison for the medicine Archie used. Then Archie made an honest mistake, through no fault of his own. He dosed David with the tainted medicine, ignorant of what now contained. Ivy wanted to avoid blame, so Ivy feigned ignorance about the whole affair. Maybe. A possibility. Or maybe just someone. Leave it kind of blank. Let's try that. I don't know. I can't show it to Harjeet yet. We're not there yet. Go start dinner. Here's my final chapter, Rachel. Hopefully it's good enough for you. Bye, Phoebe. Why is it that whenever I see you, I feel you're noticing things I'd rather hide? It should worry me, yet somehow it doesn't. You talk as though you mean to court. That is not a deterrent, merely an observation. Did I tell you that Milton is thinking of publishing his own literary journal? Something clean-lined and brisk and free of fuss, with none of the floral furbelows you find cluttering the bookstalls. She fills in a few more details about Milton's literary aspirations, but in time this well runs dry. Offer my final tragic chapter of a jilted lover. I present my tale with an air of triumph. She reads on. It's hardly a happy outcome, is it? In fact, I might call it gloomy. I wouldn't trust anyone else with this story, but I'm sure you can tell it. Very well. Science false. Your usual extra reward applies for the matters of the heart, of course. Rachel does look grateful. Rachel adds a proper payment. 4 coins! Woohoo! Oh, thank you. You are lovely. Think nothing of it. That is all I will need, I think. Thank you for your help with this project. More than once you've brought me an incident I would have never thought of myself. It would certainly not have come out as it has without your influence. I don't care about your friends right now. Bye. Okay, I have time to run one more errand today. Where do I want to go? All right, let's go talk to Archie again. taking a risk coming here without Arjeet. If you don't watch out, they'll pack you up in the ungulate beside me. And where will that leave me? Flirt, flirt, flirt. My next comment is a bit warm. We fall into banter and we do not quickly recover. Have you heard the proposals to drill some new wells? We need more fresh water that doesn't come out of the stolen river. But the first machine they put to it struck on something in the ground red as a side of beef, and the ground screamed. I'd be curious to see what's there, but the ministry's blocked all roads around the spot. Though there was a trickle of blood that was running down the street, and 2 or 3 enterprising butchers gathered in cups to make into pudding. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about David's murder? Anything that might help you clear my name, ask away. What did David say about the surface, then? He meant to set up passage back above as soon as he could. He said he knew folk in Livorno, and they would be the coast from Kimay and could commission a ship. I cannot say I understood all he said on the matter of ventures and investors and the line of the Atlantic telegram cable. You took that for a tale of what to avoid, I reckon. But he did say that when the service was running, if I found another road home, he would give me a ticket aboard. What about the illness? Was he upset with you about the illness, or you with him? I did what I could, and he knew he did. What was out of my power, he knew was beyond me. He did say it was the Neath to blame. The food and the air weren't good for him, he said. What is it you've been trying to make? There's an old medicine in the pharmaceutical books. Venetian treacle was its common name. Theriac mithridatum to those that some teaching. It's said to cure every sort of ailment at once, and ward off poisons too while you're about it. You need a lot of strange ingredients, but it seemed to me the Neath has new complaints we haven't seen on the surface. So we could do with a bit of a cure-all, as long as we haven't worked out the particular science. I'd be giving it to David Landau, but I ran out the last day. Had to give him a more usual stomach settler instead. Nothing I'd not given to anyone and everyone. Do we know it was murder? David Landau was already sickly. If he hadn't been ill, he wouldn't have needed your services in the first place. His illness was not the sort to kill a man. It was not more than a complaint of the digestion. It should not have ended his life, certainly not all of a sudden. Do you have an alibi for the time when David died? Oh, nah. I was in the Landau house, that's for true. Not that it weren't a fair crowd, come to that. Rachel was always there, and as if she did not trust me to dose her brother, which I doubt she changed her mind on her late. Then there was the housekeeper, and Rachel's gentleman caller came at the morning. That caused it to do. And what was there in the morning but a postman collecting their letters for delivery to the surface? Which Grizz always said she couldn't arrange for me, nor for love nor money, for all her acquaintance with Master Pages. But the Landaus had got mail and were sending their reply again by return of post, just like London never fail at all. While you were treating David Landau, did the two of you argue? Nay, not a bit of that. We talked on his illness, and when the news came of mail from the surface, we talked on that. Nay ill feeling in it. There's a brief lull in the conversation. Geese. Because we can. Aw, a hill covered in sweetgrass and bees among the little flowers. Oh, are you all right? You look fainting. No, I'm well. Good, then. I wouldn't like to think that I were a danger to you. Kisses me again. We don't speak for some time. I've been thinking about you, and about how I mean to go above as soon as I may. And you're afraid for what's to come? Nay, I don't want to make a copy of happiness down here. Spending time with you, making plans together. It's like telling myself I've settled in. That I will not see the sun again. Does it trouble you, me saying that? It's not what I'd prefer to hear. Aye, well, might be the mood will pass on. But I thought it was best I warn you. I'm that fond of you, but I might not be fit for purpose. I'll give it a try. I'd like to try all the same. Aye, well, you have courage, I'll say that. I'd best get on. Back to your prison ship? I guess you are treating people while you're here, so. Grace brought home some extra supplies today. I was able to do something that almost resembled cooking. It's a good thing we have Griz's help. You're very welcome. Tough in the air fryer, woo! All of London would be in a difficult position if it weren't for her employers. So we went and talked to Archie. He says they didn't have any quarrel. He wasn't upset with him for any reason. He gave him something different than he usually does, because he was out of the medicine he usually gives him. It definitely wasn't his illness. He was definitely poisoned. And they had post delivered that morning, which he was kind of salty about because Grizz says she can't get his mail delivered no matter what. All of London would be in a difficult position if it weren't for her employers, which might be how they prefer it. When the meal is over, I give Horatio a hand. It's good of you, friend. All right. Question people about possible accomplices or incorporate a known person into my theory. Craft a case that includes no unknowns, confront the culprit, or report the results to Harjeet. 6 days remain in the season of Yule, so we have slightly less than a week, but that's still lots of time. As usual, I resort to the morning papers. The headlines today read, Ministry of Accounting and Recounting revises marriage license requirements, shockingly permissive new law. Cool. Okay. So it looks like there's no new stuff in here. And then no new options in there either. Okay, so let's go through this list. Definitely wasn't Grizz, because, like, why would Grizz be involved at all? That's silly. It might be the Carringhams with the letter? Possibly. His cousins on the surface aren't even an option. Ferret. There could be a mess up with the materials there, but again, Archie didn't give him what he usually gives him because he didn't have any of it left. And why would Ferret be involved? Might just do Ferret just to... But he wasn't there. That's the problem. Horatio, of course, why would she be involved? Like, I don't think she even knows these people. Milton, again, could have done it. Ivy could have done it. Ivy or Milton could have done it. I'm convinced I don't think Phoebe did it now. I don't think Rachel would have done it. Gonna ask all of them about Ivy. Can't really talk to Ferret about it. I'm not comfortable showing it to... Can't even go back to the South Bank or the Sunken Parliament, because, like, why? Can't go back to the bazaar. Okay. Let's go talk to David about Ivy. I don't think it was Ivy, but... You seem better at finding me than my sister is. I recount the newspaper story. The ministry has changed marriage license requirements to allow more people to be married. Oh? The law is meant to encourage a proliferation of affections, which does sound a trifle alarming. I make the story as engaging as I can, plenty of detail and a fair sprinkling of dramatic pauses. I try to stay out of politics. A lesson from my father, though perhaps in a new age. Those who make the laws have always abused the place, keeping their own power and punishing down everyone else. David hears me out, but it's plain this question doesn't matter as much to him as to me. Don't mind me. David plainly wants to know why I'm here. Explore whether Ivy had a motive. Ivy Fitzclarret, Rachel's seamstress. She was in the house the day you died. We didn't have any history, Ivy and I. I barely knew her. Suppose she may have general distaste for gentlemen. There wouldn't have been any more personal reason, though. What's your view on memories? Is there anything you'd choose to forget if you could? I have the sense that some question here is bothering him. All our memories have value. I wonder. Some of them might put us on the wrong track. Even after we stop speaking, he looks thoughtful, and the conversation falls silent for a moment. Finally, he shakes off these reflections. Is it a strange business having an authoress for a sister? It's weird that I can't tell him about Ivy. I guess we did promise to keep the thought, but I don't know. Why can't we talk to him about the... I guess we have to put the... I guess we have to put the two people as subject. I don't know. Sometimes wonder whether that choice of occupation has been good for her. Oh, why is that? The work takes on a toll. It takes a toll on her. Publisher is demanding. The public sends her all manner of letters. Some of these communications are harmless, but there are others that she takes painfully to heart. But it is too late to withdraw from the business now. My mother permitted Rachel's writing. While she was alive, I did not think I had a right to intervene. Now it is too late. I cannot help being proud of Rachel when I read her work. But it has kept her thoughts busy around and her hours occupied, and she is still unmarried. If anything happens to me, I would have wanted her to have a safe household of her own. Perhaps she would even have married someone who lived outside the bounds of the city and been spared all this. I'm afraid I can't entertain as long as I used to. Everything is always running too slowly, and yet every day is the same. Bye. That was a waste of my time. Unfortunately... He nods to me. There's honey at the salon tonight. I don't know whether I'll join you. You said it helped last time. They seem content to speak in front of me, so let them. The pages flew out of the pen the next day, but I had to edit them several times afterwards to get rid of the cloaked stranger who kept turning up. I told you not to worry about him. He kept following me in the honey dreams. I saw him before when I had nightmares about David's death. Master mirrors. Virginia says he's been seen more than once on that side of the glass. There's some company you don't cultivate. As you like. What was that? If Milton ever offers you a drop of his favorite honey, it takes you somewhere brighter than the neath, brighter than the surface. Brilliant orange. My head is full of things that never entered it before. Ivy Fitzclarret was in the house the day David died, I understand. She was, but she didn't go into David's room. She was fitting my new gowns. Supposing she found a way, did she have a reason to harm him? I suppose if the Carringhams wished to strike at David, they might have used Ivy for the purpose. She did for Charlotte Carringham, too, when Charlotte was unmarried. Ivy has an eye for color. The Jewish ladies of London, and even the gentlemen, have often dressed more brightly and more colorfully. And there are rumors that Ivy does things other than dressmaking for the right price. Though I thought it was more a matter of gossip and blackmail. Milton dislikes falsehood most, and then obviousness. She ticks off the rules on her fingers. A phenomenon depicted it's better than an explanation for that phenomenon. He harbors writing that is pretty at the expense of accuracy. Oh, he abhors. He abhors writing that is pretty at the expense of accuracy, or a sentence that draws attention to itself. Alliteration is not permitted in prose, or puns in any context. Scenes must be omitted if they contain nothing that's to surprise the reader. It is better to skip over a marriage proposal, unless the hero is planning to make a fool of himself, or the heroine intends to decline his advances. I must return to my writing, I'm afraid. Look after yourself, citizen. I feel like I'm not going to get much more help out of anybody. Nobody's here for dinner. We don't even have a conversation about anything. Great. I don't know how to get much else help on this. Five days remaining in Yule. I can't talk to Milton unless he's with Rachel. There's nowhere to go to talk to him. And he was just talking with Rachel, but I didn't get to contribute to that conversation. Feline answering name of Pebbles, accused of carrying prisoners' messages from the HMS Ungulate. Yeah, there's nowhere on the map that lets me go talk to Milton. I can go talk to Archie. I can go talk to Ferret. I can go talk to Theophilus, who I don't care about. I can go talk to Harjeet. I can visit with Horatia, get her opinion for the manifesto. Take the census with Grizz, collect Grizz's opinion for the manifesto, take the census with Moss. Interview Phoebe about whether Ivy could have been involved. See whether Ivy knows if I'm voted for Archie. And nothing at these three things. So that's all I can do. Should I go talk to Phoebe, or should I just start doing something else for now instead? It's like I could have Harjeet show me how to get to the rubbery men. So yeah, I think that's really my two things is like interview Phoebe about whether Ivy could have been involved or get Harjeet to take me to the rubbery men. My worry is if I show Harjeet my theory, he's just going to act on it rather than, like, giving me any sort of pushback or anything. I think I'm worrying that that is a turn it in kind of standpoint, not a what's your opinion on this kind of question. If I could save it, then I would save it and go talk to Phoebe. And then if that ends up just being a massive waste of my time, like when we went and talked to... Yeah, I'm gonna... Take me to the rubbery men. Let me see what I can do to help our household. Harjeet likes to see me wearing his gift. He might take that as an encouragement. You're looking well. Mention the message passing cat. I recount the newspaper story. A cat has been accused of passing messages to prisoners. Oh. There's some talk of inducting cats into the diplomatic service or training them for espionage. I make the story as engaging as I can. Plenty of detail and a fair sprinkling of dramatic pauses. London seems on the brink of collapse some days. Get your tofu! Our animals made strange to us, and monsters creeping in from beyond the city limits. Harjeet hints that I should say a bit more about myself. Talk about the inventive side of tailoring. I speak of my family's background and the fine people we had the honor to dress. I talk about the invention of new styles and the challenge of finding the right ambassadors to wear them. The air is warmer for just a moment, briefly comforting. Harjeet may have hoped to hear something else. I don't know what else he wants. Oh! Oh! Harjeet can take me to the townhouse? Shit, then yeah! I didn't know he could do that! Have you seen any devils, if you mean the people with yellow eyes? Yes. They have taken over a townhouse that way, he points out a direction. You can see them coming and going sometimes. And the occasional vicar standing outside to stare in. Ah! I didn't know he could take me there. Harjeet shows me the way. At certain points he makes me look up at the stalactites above and fix the relationship in my mind. As he did before. Okay. They sparkle with something other than stars. Don't treat the stars like constellations. They do not stand still. Ah! They say this place is inhabited by devils, or alternatively, people with yellow eyes and a warm handshake. Harjeet takes a look at the devil's doorstep and raises his eyebrows. It's plain he has no taste for this company, so I say goodbye and go on alone. Their door knocker is made of brass, unreasonably warm brass, and it's shaped like the head of a goat. The attendant is human enough, but she refuses to answer any questions. I wait in a very old-fashioned wooden chair. I keep feeling that the armrests are nipping at my wrists. I am invited inside at last. Oh! Ah, what's this? I think you may have become lost, citizen. Angle to impress the lady with lies. My name is Moira. I go by Milton. I dislike forenames. You may address me as Virginia, or ma'am. Time was when my family owned everything your eye can see around here. Did they? They both fall extremely still. I'm not sure that they breathe. I am acquainted with the Landaus. I believe you know them as well. By reputation only, I can assure you. The suspected murderer is being tried soon. I have taken up the task of, investigating. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Yes. Clearing up human misunderstandings is one of my favorite pastimes. It is possible, of course, that you will get some answers you do not want, but that will just make the conversation more delicious. Smell about motives for Archie. Supposing Archie did kill David, what possible reason could he have had? Vengeance is always a delicious motive. I recommend that one. Sure. I see. Vengeance for what? Oh, this is entirely hypothetical. You met Ivy Fitzclarette at the Landau townhouse the day of David's death, didn't you? We weren't formally introduced. I saw her passing through. She had come to see to Rachel's wardrobe. Do you think she could have killed David? I did not have long to observe her, alas. But from the brief impression I took, I'd say she's more capable than most. She appeared to me to have a robust soul. To your knowledge, did she have any reason to do so? To my knowledge, no. But if she did it, I expect she was most likely paid. Putting someone to death is a very personal service. And the Ivy Fitzclarettes do not perform such kindnesses for free. Perhaps that Kerrigan couple, the husband might have had a romantic grudge against David. David's engagement and its aftermath is a tale of such tedious indecision and inaction that I have not committed its specifics to memory. It's easier to remember if the fiction that Rachel built on the back of it. For a moment, no one speaks. What sort of business is typically done here? Diplomacy, commerce. Contracts are written and signed. Gatherings of information. Do you mean this is an academic establishment? Are you engaged in research? No, I wouldn't exactly say that. My colleague is known to engage in an experiment. So, when I went to Harji and asked him to take me somewhere, one of the options was the Devil's Townhouse. So we got taken to Milton after all, and this is his colleague, Virginia. So we are talking to Milton, Virginia. He seems completely uninterested in the murder. He thinks that if Archie did it, then it was probably for vengeance. No specifics whatsoever. And if he thinks that if Ivy did it, it was for money from the couple that we've been talking about. I think tomorrow I would like to change the story back to Milton being in charge of it and see if I can ask him, like, did you do it? And see if anything comes out of that. But right now I am kind of leaning towards Ivy being paid to do it. I am keen to hear about your business all the same. Invent a fabulous tale of my reliability. Before the fall, I had the honor to wait upon members of the royal family. Oh, I've seen very odd things, and I kept my own counsel about them all. I do collect souls, but not, let's say, in bulk. There are wholesale dealers, souls by the gross, etc. I am more of a specialist merchant. For my taste, the literary soul is especially intriguing. You are more easily intrigued than I am. When you talk about a person's soul, do you mean the same thing the preacher would? Better ask whether a preacher means the same thing we do. Some people don't even miss their soul once it's gone. And some keep their souls, but allow them to get into a frankly disgraceful condition. You have now taken as much time as we can spare. At least you don't say whether you are thinking like... At least you don't say whatever you are thinking, like most of London. But dishonesty is not alluring in itself, so pray don't feel I will pine for you in your absence. The whispering is creepy. I shake my head to clear it. The ruminations are gone. All is as it was. I can just manage another errand today. Person, Virginia. Okay. So that's very exciting. I just... For sake, I would like to go back to what we were saying. Okay. I feel like we already talked to David about motives, but give it a shot. Need more water. Offer a grumpy greeting. I'd not be troubling you if I could help it. Every path has a puddle. David is in no mood to offer any stories of his own. Were matters between you and Milton so bad that he would have killed you? It's true I did not like him, and once I asked him what he intended towards Rachel. I've heard this. He did not seem angry. He didn't exactly answer me either. He said a few words that I did not understand. They hung in the air like a solid thing. There are folk tales about words of magical power. No one says anything for a moment. I found afterwards that I didn't want to ask him about Rachel again. He certainly wasn't afraid of me. He may not even disliked me very much. Afterwards, I only argued with Rachel about Milton rather than the other way around. There was a brief lull in the conversation. Before I died, I couldn't eat because my stomach would not let... Oh, God, why is it so loud? Jesus. Why is it all of a sudden so loud? Now I feel well enough, but there are still days, many days, when the sight of the supper makes me sick. Or sends my heart rate up in fear that I'll be poisoned a second time. Rachel has to taste all my food for me nights like that. I don't know why the music all of a sudden, swelled super loud. I am sorry. We have all had a great deal to bear. Yeah, it was just really loud in my headphones to the point that I don't know if you saw me physically remove them because I was just like, ah! What was it like to die? That's the part I can't speak about to Rachel or to anyone. Fortunately, it isn't what interests my visitors either. They want to talk about what comes after. The boat ride and the far shore and the great pale ice moths in the air. But it's the suffering when I was still alive. That's what I can't get out of my head, even if I try not to think about it. I'm sorry. I can only imagine how it must feel. David appears to recognize some common strand between us. It's not a pleasant thing, dying. My head ached, and my lungs were burning. I felt like there was a ball of fire in my gut. And then my body began to purge itself. I'll spare you the details. I think it must have been Phoebe who had to clean the place afterward. It's another indignity that I did to her. Made her face such a thing, I mean. It's a terrible sensation when you realize that your body is destroying itself, that it's being damaged beyond repair, that you're going to die, but that you're nowhere near dead yet. And yet you're here. I think something is still a little wrong. I think I didn't come back entirely undamaged. Sometimes, if I breathe too deep, I catch a pain. The worst thing is remembering death. I wish I could forget just that. Just forget what it was like. I don't suppose that's one of the miracles of the Neath. The ability to put a memory in a safe and sink it to the bottom of the Z. If anyone does know something like that, it will be Archie or perhaps Milton, not the people David would choose as confidants. I'll let him know if I hear of any way. If I do hear of any way, I will let you know. Thank you. Don't worry, I don't expect you to be able to. But if you did, I would be grateful. Okay. Goodbye. Everything is always running too slowly, and yet every day is the same. All right. Once again, it's just me and Horatia. Wonder where Moss has gotten off to. I wonder if these have just me and Horatia because they were the, later added days. Okay. So I already swapped out the story to include Milton because I want to ask Milton about it. The headlines today read, "The Master's new first fist of the bazaar hired amid billiard hall scandal." Okay. Yeah, we left it on Milton. We will do that later. I don't know if it's a bug so much as they just didn't ask Milton about whether Milton had means of murder. Because it was obviously something they very quickly added. So they've just been like, we didn't program in dinner conversations. We just added on 7 more days to give you more time. Hello. To what do I owe the pleasure? Did you see David on the last day of his life? I visited the house. I did not attend David Landau's sickbed. Instead, I had a brief conversation with Rachel Landau and went away again. I did not put poison in Archie's medicine. The body we found in David's grave. When I saw it, there were strange symbols on its face. Symbols that, on reflection, look like this correspondence. I suddenly find myself very curious what exactly you think I did. I thought you should know, in case it means something dangerous. To the best of my knowledge, the object that occupied David's grave is no threat to you, nor even an especially advanced instance of the relevant arts, though I don't propose to explain those. I would regard it as unusual sculpture or peculiar doll, a placeholder until the man himself was ready to return. Out of curiosity, do you think I also resurrected the real David? No, but I think you knew he'd come back. Yes, I did. Or at least I found it very likely. I tried to tell Rachel, but she wouldn't listen. God damn it. And did you take him out of the ground again? If you think about it, that would have been an act of kindness. His family having buried him foolishly and unaware of his impending return. He would have been destined to an extended misery when he came to his senses. You suggest I secretly spared him this. I'm sorry, but you cannot expect me to confess to such a thing. An act of charity from a devil, much less towards a man who hates me for my taste in cigars. And, forgive the flurry of questions, but I really can't content myself with just one. Why do you imagine I would exercise this power over Mr. Landau? One corner of my mouth is permitted to rise millimetrically, and for the briefest instant. Milton does not have an answer. Tell me something. What is your most compelling desire? Truth. To know the truth, to be undeceived. Most people would rank that among the foremost tortures of hell. Do you think you could weather it? That's part of what I'd like to know. You might find you dodge knowing in spite of yourself. Humans are very good at dressing any unpleasant fact in silk and feathers until it no longer offends the eye. What does he think of London? Okay, so yeah, I'm pretty confident now that Milton did not do it. Because he's like, I don't give a shit. I don't care enough about these people to do something like that. Have you seen other cities? What do you think of ours? You will not like this answer. I have been wishing for some time that the masters had stolen St. Petersburg. Not that I would wish to miss out on your delightful company. But at first I was delighted with London novels. Here are people who know how to write of every detail, every minute element of a soul's formation. But that was much of what drew me to Rachel at first. I wait for him to go on. She writes as London writes, more or less, with a few specific gifts of her own, to be sure. But the scope, the focus upon manner, the writing of interior thoughts, she didn't invent those. And in those qualities, she, all of London, falls short of what the Russians have achieved. Oh no, oh dear, that's much too bad. Very much too bad. Have you encountered the novel Oblomov? I have not. It concerns a man too ravaged by ennui to leave his bed. He is a burden to his family and embarrassment to himself. It is the most pure, intense, and exacting portrayal of a lightless soul that anyone could devise. What technique! What we might not have achieved with them. Do come again, sometime, citizen. Your conversation intrigues me. I have only platonic intentions towards Milton. Exhume the corpse. It gave me earlier the opportunity to interview Ivy about herself, but that seems to have changed. Maybe that was a glitch. Okay. Yeah. It's interesting that that gave me an exclamation point, but I can't do anything there. Let's ask Phoebe if Ivy could have been involved. You wanted to speak again? Just a moment. I wait while she finishes her chores enough to take a moment with me. Whoop. Oh, we're back outside again. Entering the hiring of the Fist of the Bazaar. Masters were entangled in some sort of scandal at a billiard hall. I make the story as engaging as I can, plenty of detail and a fair sprinkling of dramatic pauses. I wouldn't mind a posting in one of the new ministries. They control all goods in the city, so stands to reason the pay would be better. I can't guess where your family was, but I always find that difficult. No one is quite like mine. Most of the fine people I helped dress. I speak of my family's background and the fine people we had the honor to dress. We talk about keeping to fine old standards and traditions, about making clothes so enduring and tasteful that they might be worn for decades. Wish I'd met you sooner, I'll say that. Seems I have passed some test. Explore whether Ivy had a motive. What was Ivy Flitz Claret doing at the Hound House on the day of the murder? Rachel had around to fit some new gowns. We might have spent a few minutes in gossip. I wonder if that's just not important or if it's significant. Because Phoebe just said that Ivy was around to fit her with new gowns. But both Rachel and Ivy said she was altering some of her existing gowns. So I wonder if that's like my brain getting caught up on something that's not that significant, or if something funky is going on here. Ivy knows all the dirt that's happening in town, and she isn't high in the snoot like some people. Did she have a reason to kill David? What, Ivy? They didn't speak much, those two. Never saw them together to speak of. Not to say that Ivy's an angel, but if she did do anything amiss, there'd be money at the back of it. Yeah. I don't mark her to kill David Landau free of charge and without fee. No one speaks for a moment. I wonder whether I could ask a favor. But could I come with you to visit your friend Archibald? I'd like to know what to expect before the trial. Sure. Of course I will. Thank you. You're very kind. Are we going right now? Oh, okay. I brought Phoebe with me. Why would you be here then, Miss Riley? They say you're meant to visit prisoners. It's a good work. Might be if you come to bring me cheer. But if you're here to squawk at me about the wrong I did to the Landaus, you don't think you could have done it by accident, then? Just a little mistake with the matter of the dosing? I've thought about it over and time and again, lass. Do you think you're the first to ask me? I let them talk. I've been thinking all this was to get me out of London. Someone killed David in order to get you out of the way. They did like to give themselves the long way round, didn't they? Aye, to hide their true intentions. Ah, you're as good as a play. You should come and see my mistress. She's always needing a plot, and the stranger the better. No, that was a really interesting conversation. God damn it. Can I go back to Archie and keep talking about that line of thought? Like, who does he think is getting great? Archie's trial is scheduled in a few days' time. If there's anything you had to tell me about it, you have 3 full days left to do so. Further evidence against our friend, or further alibis. You're intruding on our supper. I don't want to tell him the hypothesis now. I'm not ready for the trial. I found a solution. I've worked out the truth. I'll bring it to you. You know where to find me. This would not be necessary if you had given us warning. Archie could have gone into hiding. There are ways under the city within it. What do you think, Moss? We do not have many fugitives in Polythreme. It is difficult to escape the law when every brick can proclaim which way you went. I want to talk to Archie and see if we can talk more about that theory. But otherwise, I'm just going to toss Ivy under the bus. Sorry, Ivy. Headline today, read Nightmare of Mechanical Bear continued. Nightmares of can't talk today. Nightmares of Mechanical Bear continue to plague Old Castle residents. Still got the Ivy one on there, right? Yeah. Just making sure there's nothing else to do. Okay, I can't even ask him about Ivy. Okay. I recap the newspaper story. Dozens of Londoners in Old Castle have all reported nightmares about a clockwork bear. I make the story as engaging as I can. Plenty of detail and a fair sprinkling of dramatic pauses. I can't help wondering on these beasties of the street of the city. Imagine they've all sorts of venom and toxins. Makes me wonder if I've weaved the antidotes. Someone out to be making a study. Safety begins at home. We should look after our own and be careful of things and people we don't know. You never know what's out there. Archie hears me out, but it's plain his question doesn't matter as much to him as it does to me. Don't mind me. We turn to the price of mushrooms, the difficulty of finding fuel. These are the subjects that people discuss in the Neath in order to avoid talking about the teeth and snakes and the occupants of our dreams. Describe my manifesto progress so far. About the manifesto. Sounds like you need a mite more substance. Okay, that was a waste of time. Cool. I wonder if I can load. Yeah, that was a waste of my time. I couldn't actually take in the manifesto, and I couldn't ask him any questions. So it's not worth it. We're going to have to redo some of the day, I'm sure, but... Let's start asking people about helping with David's memories. Hello, do what do I owe you the pleasure? Ask Milton about helping David forget. Is it possible to make people forget things here in the Neath? It is possible. Those who have lived longer in the Neath have cultivated many shades of oblivion. But I cannot recommend it. How do you hope to grow a soul if the exquisite torments are flushed away? For a moment no one speaks. I think about Rachel Landau more than I would prefer. She comes to my salon, we have an entertaining argument. I ignore my other guests, or they form a ring to watch us. Rebecca Solomon sits in a corner, sketching us both. Then... Rachel always goes home for the evening at a respectable hour. Sometimes, for distraction, I bed one of the other guests. Occasionally, I take a soul. I've had a few that tempted me. There's a boy who sculpts, but that's aside. Whatever I might be thinking of, whatever I'm doing, Rachel remains a consideration. I could seduce her. I could take her soul from her. I could convince her to marry me if I chose. At times, she has wanted to be persuaded into any of those things. I played at the edges. I allowed us both to think that maybe I would. Yeah, it sounds to me like you love her. You're in love with her. Devils don't fall in love. Perhaps the Neath has changed you. It seems to change everyone else. Did devils originate here? We did not, but it's impossible. I've examined myself for human symptoms. I'm not intoxicated by passion, nor am I blind to her flaws. I've written several vituperative poems enumerating her defects. Did that help? It taught me several points about the metrical intractability of the English language. Hell's languages are better terpsichorean excoriation. However, no, it did not alter my... Must we call them feelings? We'll call it love as a shorthand. Milton loves Rachel. Referring to whatever this is, this profane connection. A thing which is not seen among devils and not admired even in London. But I will rename the sentiment as soon as I find a better term for it. And I'll thank you not to go spreading word of it around. It's okay, dude. Like, you can have feelings. Okay. Maybe Mr. Pages can. Don't know if Archie could. Maybe Ivy could. Let me change to my ministry badge. When I arrive, Master Pages raises its head and looks at me without saying anything. Undercon Grizz has been agitated. She requested that we intervene in a matter of the Crown Court. This is not our custom. The justice of London concerns many things that do not interest us. In fact, Undercon Grizz herself instructed that each ministry be circumscribed. We observe an inconsistency in this. It causes us to question her judgment. She may not be thinking clearly this once. It is harder to stick to those rules when a friend's life is involved. It is a weakness. We will have to account for it in our dealings with her. You do not appear to have brought any applimplated forms with you. Perhaps the nature of the job was not made clear. I'm sorry. I promise to do better. When I requiriate an apology, I will extract one with tongs. Is it possible to make people forget things here in the Neath? Polypotentiously, one may remove one memory, or several, or all, scrubbing out the mind like an old cup. Or, which is juxtaposited, one may erase the truth entirely, converting what it was into a cold contradiction. But these pens and inks are reserved to the lexilliterate, not for you. You know, David Landau returned from the dead. He is not alone in this. The boatman has been active. London has been present here for many months. David Landau was hardly the first to die. London settles slowly into the influence of the Neath. The return of the dead, the articulacy of beasts, these will become more common. Did the masters know that would happen? Master Mirrors performed the necessary instructicanes. What might be expected, and what ought to be done. London did not render attention. It seems Master Mirrors is not gifted in making its information public. Master Mirrors operates in the realm of somnolation, in nightmares of burial and nightmares of the grave, in nightmares like the one that brought Rachel Landau to our front door with a shovel. I said the written word would be more effectuant. Master Mirrors declared me to be unreliable in matters of paper and ink. It accused me of inviscerance, parchmentary, a gant habituance. I say farewell to Master Pages. Pages does not reply at all. It is at times difficult to tell whether Master Pages is intentionally ill-mannered or merely has no interest in discovering what the proper etiquette might be. Maybe I've been too quick to dislike Master Pages. My face betrays my feelings. Rachel will be setting out the food now. Fine. Just us again. Goodbye. I think I need to just turn over my report. See what happens. I don't want to do it on the last day and potentially screw myself up. Headline today read, New Anglican Synod disbanded under accusations of infiltration by imposters. Synod? I don't know what that word means. Okay. I can ask her about a motive. I can ask her about helping David. I can talk to Archie about the memories. I'm going to talk to her about helping with the difficult memories. Change this back to my little flower. Moira, it's good to see you. This is more than a social call. You say you have a way to remove a memory. I know how it's done. David Landau needs memory out. Bully for him. I'm not a dentist. Do it for me. For me? I don't want people saying I do favors. What a scandal that would be. I'll keep it to myself. The Masters outlawed charity, you know. There's supplies needed, expensive ones. Might as well ask for a velvet ball gown, no charge. Here you go. Even for 4 pennies? I'll go to see to him alone. It's not an operation that wants an audience. And if he doesn't want it, I won't go through with it. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, yes. At least you won't be remembering it afterwards. There was a mother who came to me to confess about the death of her baby. Go on. Well, the deed was done, and peckish work it was. But there's still not a belly timber in the house. It's all right. Put it out. I asked her what she did with the body. Got a nice casket for it or the like. How she said it was. I already learned to roast a cat. Jesus! And then David Landau returned from the boat with all his teeth and hair. But a person making that return with the choice cuts of Peck missed out. The spectacle isn't a gladsome sight to the mum's eye. But that's how be that how it may. Hallowmas alone was not enough for that woman. We had to take the memory out clean. which is a matter I'd not have known to do otherwise above. But the crone who runs the urchin gang in these parts, she knows things. She was here before London fell. As I say, down here you take what advice you can. Thank you for telling me. Got to put a thing down somewhere. Ivy and I have served different clients, perhaps, but we speak the language of the same profession. We get to talking about the materials available in the Neath, about how colors look different when they're never exposed to sun, about how it's harder to tell good workmanship from bad in the dark. We talk about warmth and the importance of fit, and the art of constructing a gown that can be refitted as the wearer changes in size. There's a few ladies who are no more than sticks. The diet below hasn't agreed with them. Don't ask me why, but I've taken to you. Might go off you again once I know more about you, but for now you seem right enough. And if you wanted to come back and visit round the market, I wouldn't kick you away. Now and then, mind, I might ask you to pretend you're buying something. And maybe you could comment loud on how good the workmanship is. That'd do. Encourage Ivy since all is going to plan. Yes, indeed. What an excellent idea. I'm very glad you asked. That suits. I have something for you. Some of us want to make ourselves at home in a place we weren't born to. If anyone asks when you're rubbing elbows in good company, you tell them you got it from me. I'm trusting you to spread the word. But if they ask, I charged you a good high price, and you are glad to pay it. Or they'll say old Ivy's gone soft in the head. Elegant cloak. Worn, handsome, hard-wearing. Inspires a lofty attitude and an inclination to protect the weak. All right. Sorry, Ivy, I am about to turn you in. Okay. It's the final thought before I do this. Because I am kind of running out of time to do anything else with this. So our options are despised Archie, fought over Milton, fought over Rachel, thought poorly of gentlemen, was hired by someone, rich, could use a scandal, wanted health, hoped for wealth, loved David, regretted a relationship, had unknown purpose, was thoughtless. So it's either Ivy or the Carringhams. Stirred to vengeance, novelized the affair, planned return to surface, sent adulterous letters, sold contraband, swapped drugs for poison. I wonder if we can make it say... regretted relationships. Let's see. Archie most of all wished for health for the Neath, and the Carringhams for a slate after past relationships. Then Archie made an honest mistake through no fault of his own. He poisoned David with arsenic disguised as medicine. Because Mrs. Carringham was sending him adulterous letters. That's what Ivy told us. And there's no other... The only options here are stirred to vengeance, novelized the affair. Rachel did that. Rachel novelized the affair. Planned to return to the surface. Archie and David did that. We both agreed stirred to vengeance doesn't... Oh, yeah, I don't know if you weren't here for that. Ivy told us that David was in a thing with Mrs. Carringham before she got married. And Rachel, being pissed off about her brother's kind of getting snubbed by her, wrote about the affair into one of her novels. Now, Mr. Carringham is having to deal with everybody gossiping and whispering about it. And Mrs. Carringham is swearing up and down that it doesn't mean anything, that, you know, she loves him. But at the same time, she is having Ivy deliver love notes to David saying she still loves him and she regrets everything. Ivy at that point, though, admitted to us that she wanted to hurt Mrs. Carringham, and so she went to Mr. Carringham with the letter and was like, hey, your wife paid me to send this to David, hoping to hurt Mrs. Carringham. Unfortunately, it freaked Mr. Carringham out, and he started, like, vomiting or crying or whatever euphemism she used, like, right in front of her, and then was like, but I still love her. It's fine. It's fine. And so she, like, made us do the whole, like, confession ritual to be like, I was trying to hurt her, but I accidentally hurt him. And that's not okay of me. So at this point, we know that Mrs. Carringham was sending him adulterous letters. Rachel supposed that their cousins on the surface could have poisoned a letter because not she and Phoebe did not touch it. They just touched the envelope and then delivered it to him. But she doesn't know why their cousins on the surface would have done that, because that wouldn't have really changed anything. But the Carringhams could have done that. The one trouble we're running into is poison David is not something we can change. So, while the Carringhams might have sent the letter, they didn't see him. So, I feel like it was Ivy who swapped. I feel like Ivy is this is the most logical path with the information we've got. Yeah, Ivy messing with the medicine makes the most sense to me. Because she also made an offhanded comment. Either she or Phoebe, one of the two of them made an offhanded comment that Archie did leave his bag unattended for a moment. Could be lied about everything, yeah. Unfriendly to the church. It's interesting that my romantic interests still say encounters without romance, when I've been macking on Archie pretty much every single time I've met him. Unfriendly to church, protective of my own. Impatient with overcomplicated, unsubstantiated rumors. More concerned with charity than with seeing debts are paid. Opportunistic and not always too concerned about the social contract. On the wrong side of the law, and I like it here. Okay. Archie. Oh, I guess it is just based on the trip. I guess. Oh, there we go. I'd like Archie to become my lover. His melancholy sometimes feels like a third member of our relationship. Archie kissed me, or I kissed him. I convinced Archie to talk about the murder. Archie showed less reserve than usual. Archie and I kissed again. David loved Charlotte before she became Lady Carringham. We got word through Harjeet that David Landau had died and Archie was suspected of the murder. David turned up at his home entirely alive. David showed less reserve than usual. I convinced David to talk about the murder. David showed less reserve than usual. I hardly disliked David, though I think I hit it. I believe I irritated David. David showed less reserve than usual. David showed less reserve than usual. Okay. I've really only talked to Ferret like the once. I like that Ferret's occupation is question mark. He works in a shop. Griselda. Yeah, Grizz isn't really involved in this. Harjeet. I wonder if there's a way in this game to help him with his former lover. Yeah, it's interesting that it just says I bribed Ivy to tell me about her two pets. She made me a confession. I know what that confession was because I was paying attention. Okay. We're gonna go present our theory of the murder to Harjeet and see what happens. If I bring Harjeet a case that can't be brought to trial, he'll tell me that quickly so I can get something else done today. Okay, otherwise telling him might lead straight away to an arrest. Harjeet likes to see me wearing his gift. He might take that as an encouragement. I'm wearing his gift. The hat. You're looking well. Join you in rounds. Can I join you in rounds and still give you, the work that needs doing? We make our checks just as we did last time. Once there is a litter of irate kittens, the mother is most uncomplimentary about our interference. Cats. They act like they're Maharani, but they swear like Lascars. One admires the effect. Finally, we work our way back around to our own familiar courtyard. Harjeet claps me on the shoulder. I believe I know what happened and why. And what are you bringing me? You're sure of it? Don't bring me a story that you want to change. Whatever you bring me, I must take to my superiors. I'm sure. I lay out the whole story as I've reconstructed it, complete with means and motives. I would not have guessed Ivy was involved, but perhaps I should. Like her namesake, she seems to wind her way into everything. Get a good night of sleep. Do whatever else you mean to do. Tomorrow the case will be heard. Hopefully that's right. We'll find out. Stress. I cannot come along to the trial. If you can't bring Archie home afterwards, well, come and tell me immediately. I want to send him something in prison for his last meal, if it is his last meal. Dinner is a very quiet affair from there. Let's find out. I don't know. One day remains in the season of Yule. Ugh. I do like that one of the masters, at least in in Sunless Seas, looks like Santa Claus. Quiet! Quiet! Order! Sit down! I am unhappily aware that most of you have forgotten how to conduct yourselves in a courtroom, if in fact you ever knew. For those of you new to Your Majesty's at justice, you'll find yourselves in the freshly repaired Old Bailey. Apparently, we're to count ourselves fortunate that it is in good enough condition for us to even meet here. We are gathered here to try Mr. Archibald Reed and Miss Ivy Fitzclarret on the charge of murdering Mr. David Landau. Consider the mood of the jury. The jury looks undecided. Perhaps they haven't heard enough. They just got started. We also find ourselves able to welcome the murder victim among us. He is unusually hale for one of his position. Mr. Landau, if you would, among us. We will rely on him for evidence and to lead a certain moral tone to the proceedings. I have often found that a murder trial devolves into chaos and a carnival atmosphere, but I am certain that all was formerly lacking was the presence of the victim. Mr. Landau, if you could look a bit more martyred, that would be ideal. God. Bedchambers. Pay close attention. The critical question appears to be, Mr. Landau, who had the opportunity to poison you? You were ill and were alone most of the day before you died. I was. But you saw a few people. My housekeeper, Phoebe Riley, came to see the candles, and Mr. Reed, who was attending me as a doctor. Mr. Reed came and gave me a dose of medicine. Was it the first time Mr. Reed attended you? No, he had been treating me for some days. But you had not recovered. Not entirely, but his treatments had reduced my pain. I keep still as before. And those were the only people who entered your room. Yes, my sister was in the house, though I think she did not come into the room. I sometimes could hear voices outside. I believe her friend Mr. Milton was present that day, and perhaps also her dressmaker, Ivy Fitzclarret. And none of them sent you messages, gifts, or food, perhaps carried to you by your housekeeper? No. It wouldn't be very likely. I was not on visiting terms with Mr. Milton or the formidable Fitzclarret. Thank you, Mr. Landau. Mr. Reed, please tell us about the treatment you were providing to the victim. Prior to the victim's death, I had been attending him for several days. He had a nervous stomach, and I did not have any of the cures that you most used below. When you visited the Landau household, you took with you your bottles of medicine, did you not? Aye. Did you ever set them down where someone else might have touched them? I'd speak with David Landau first to see how he was feeling, and then by what he said, I'd go back to my bag. And you left your bag outside the victim's bedchamber. Aye, I'd leave it in the front room until I knew what was needed. You did that on the day of Mr. Landau's death. Aye, that's right. Did you do it the other times you treated Mr. Landau? Aye, it's what I always did. The bag was heavy, and the things in it had a funny smell and could give the ill a fright. Very reliable witness. So there was a time when you were attending the deceased when someone else could have opened your bottle of medicine and put something else into it. Aye, I suppose that's true. And what's more, you'd been in that habit, so someone in the household could have learned you'd leave the medicine out every time you visited. Someone could have prepared a poison with the intention of putting it in your medicine bottle. Aye. You may be seated, Mr. Reed. Glance at Rachel. Glance around at Rachel. Rachel's expression is closed, unreadable. She's aware that the audience is watching her, and she dislikes it. I would also like to remind the jury of what we have already heard from the formerly deceased. A number of people were in the Landau townhouse on the day of his death, including Ivy Fitzclarret, the dressmaker. At any rate, this dressmaker appears to have attended the Landau household on multiple occasions. We have heard the argument of the prosecution. We will now hear from the defense. Right then, I've got to make my own defense. You might have had a defender assigned to you by the court. Ivy opens her mouth to say something that might well be very rude. I'm just gonna wait and see what happens. I've always preferred to do my best and take my chances, and not rely on someone else. Anyone that tries to help might be useless, and I'd not be able to do anything about it. An admirable statement of independence. I suppose we should understand that if you did commit a murder, you would be very opposed to relying upon an accomplice. Now, by what little I could learn of court practice, you're meant to leave it to the jury whether I did or not. Very true. It would now be customary to proceed with your defense, Miss Fitzclarret. Ivy's voice shifts up more upmarket, as though she's play acting how a barrister might sound. There were quite a few of us in that house that day, including Milton the Devil and all the Landau household. And that's just counting them of us that look like humans. That doesn't account for any speaking rats or bats or crows or other critters who might have flown in or scampered in. And it says nothing to things coming through the mirror, which they say can happen in the Neath. The Old Bailey has yet to convict any person's reflection. It is not a legally accepted approach. Yet, not yet. The time will come. Now, out of all of those people, I'd say I was the least likely of all to come in and poison David Landau, considering that I don't know him or his doctor, or know when his doctor might be planning to visit. So I would have had to bring along some poison in advance, in case I happened to have the opportunity to kill an entire stranger. Heckle Ivy. There's plenty of reasons to kill strangers in these days. Members of the jury, you're meant to say whether there's any reasonable doubt in the question, or whether you're sure that I did it. I'd say the shoe's more on the other foot. There's no reasonable possibility that I did. So why, I ask myself, do they pin the deed onto me? I'll tell you why. It's because I'm not of high family, members of the jury. It's because I've made my own way. It's because they'd rather hang someone with no connections. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm not going to hang Amogus. I do not stir in my seat. The others in the room share the same solemn excitement. The barrister's summing up is almost apologetic. Ivy's a bit more like what you might hear from Joan of Arc if she'd been born in the range of bow bells. Members of the jury, you have heard the argument. Why didn't the motive about being paid off come up? Why didn't anybody bring that up? An extraordinary argument, but an argument nonetheless. And now you must make a judgment. Was a murder done here? Was it only an accident? Or has the prosecution entirely failed to make its case? If you cannot convict beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must not convict at all. It's a very long time before they come back. An agonizing time. Finally, the court returns. The jury proclaims Ivy to be not guilty. No! Oh, I knew we were gonna fail. I knew we were gonna fail. Why didn't her getting paid off come up? Why didn't anybody bring that up? I submitted that as part of my accusation. I knew we were gonna fail. They warned us when we started the game. On the matter of Archibald Reed, however, they find him guilty as charged. Archibald Reed, it is now my duty to sentence you. You have been found guilty of murder, a crime that carries the punishment of death by hanging. It has been put to me that I should consider the survival of your victim as a mitigation and regard your act instead in light of an assault. I do not, however, accept this argument. Archibald Reed, you are sentenced to hang by the neck until dead. Once this sentence has been performed, your life thereafter is your own. Afterwards, you can come back to Mrs. Chapman's. It will be like old times. Once I've died, that's an end to it. I cannot go home. Perhaps your family might move to the Neath? Nay, I'd not wish that on them. There's nothing left of my life that was, and I cannot face what may be when I return from the boatman, if I return. I'm sorry, Archie. Archie is hanged in the morning. Once the hangman would have dispatched him quietly inside of Newgate Prison. Newgate no longer stands, however, and the case has attracted some attention as the first murder trial held in the Neath. Instead, he is put to death at the Hangman's Arch. I'm sorry. Streets have changed and the name has changed. Even to reach the place of execution, I need guidance from Harjeet. But the city remembers this was Tyburn. Tyburn Tree, where highwaymen and murderers have died. Traitors, coiners, and martyrs to the Catholic faith. Archie is the first to die in this place, in this way, since London fell. We buy the law at a heavy price. It wasn't worth buying. You've never lived without it. Life is quieter after the trial, at least for a time. Christmas Day comes and goes. Pale flakes fall across London. They aren't exactly snow. Griz's work at the ministry becomes more intense, more demanding. And soon we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the fall. 1 year since February. Doesn't feel right to call this month February again. Boo. 1 day remains in the season of the rose. We're near on a year since the fall, and whatever may have been, we're not going to get back to the surface. We might not go back, but there may be good things yet to come. We don't know all the possibilities of the Neath. Horatia touches my hand. Have you seen the decorations going up around the city? I can only see a little from my window. That's as close as she comes these days to speaking of the outside. The city is decorated for a feast of lovers and romance. London is decorated for a celebration. It looks like a coronation or a royal wedding. There's bunting and false flowers and signs in the shop windows. They're calling it the Feast of the Exceptional Rose. The fungal rose, more like. Oh, interesting that I can't do these things. Ooh. Look at me all fancy. I don't have any money to buy any stuff, though. The Feast of the Rose is upon us, and there are certain sartorial requirements. Get your feast mask here! A gift from the exceptional rose, or a choice of them, in fact. And if you've got a score to settle with anyone, I can help you with that, too, for a small consideration. Something rotten to an individual you don't fancy? Ooh. Delicate rose mask. A mask for the Feast of the Rose, suitable for meeting friends, knitting matches, and pursuing deeper connections. Does that suit you, then? You'll be needing it for the festival that's coming. What's this one? A time for love, seduction, promises. They say the power at the back of it is Master Wines. Does Master Wines also have a ministry? That's not entirely in his style. Wear the mask to the feast and look for the person you most desire in your future. Friend, lover, spouse-to-be. Perhaps they'll be looking for you in turn. Or go alone and enjoy the crowd. There's something in that, too. Boop. Okay, we're going to take our hat off because we don't need that. No hat. Interesting that these are our options, because I don't want to go looking for Ivy. We were flirty with her, but then also I accused her of murder. And failed at that accusation. How about we just go look for word, go look around and bring back word to Horatia. I make my way through London. Sometimes I still have to rely on memorized pathways, on strange rituals. There is a barricade between Vale Garden and the Stolen River, unless one pays in coin or word. But many of the difficult old streets lie still now. Full of curiosity. All of London is out, walking along the Thames, enjoying the feast. Vendors are selling candies and angry bats in cages. The music is fresh and new. Oh, hi, guys. Check on Pages and Grizz. Master Pages is standing to one side, looking over the feast. Grizz is trying to speak with it when I approach. There is one other matter. Leave the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting with me. The Ministry of Public Decency has claimed all your attention. It is a grave responsibility. I did more to prepare the ministry than you. She does know how the Ministry of Accounting is run. Perhaps it is convictional. I will allow it. You will be our minister, Grizz. Thank you, I believe. Though strictly that is not how ministers are appointed. You shall be one, but not a master. Do not ask that. No, I hadn't thought of that. One has been impartialated towards the wingless plain skill of your upper back. This is hardly that is to say, perhaps a planescule is an astronomical object? Yes, that must be it. Jupiter, I believe, is orbited by several planescules. My friend, I want you to be the first to know our happy news. There is no happy news. Offer us your felicitations. We are deeply in love. This information is erroneous and furthermore is prohibited and moreover forbidden. I won't speak to anyone of this. It is particulant for Undercon Grizz to be affiliate with a master. Then we will make a plan, a procedure. What to do if your affiliates attempt to harm me. If they attempt to harm you, your inward parts will festoonify a forest in the wastes of Parabolan Nightmare. Worth it. I don't think you should be so easily turned back. I am fond of my inward parts. They are maleficent, I can attest. Pray do not attest, not in front of Moira.
Oh, you're getting a little freaky, huh?
If you wish to live, you should leave me. That is very plainly spoken indeed. Why did you wait until now? Until the Feast of the Exceptional Rose? I have said it many times. You did not listen. On the day of the feast, we see the teeth of the rose. Ah, citizen. You find us here examining the antics of our fellow Londoners. The scene will have to occur soon in the Lily of London. It's inevitable. Have you seen the children disguising themselves as purple mushrooms? Masquerade balls before the fall had nothing to offer in comparison. That was not a disguise, my dear. That was... I love the purple mushroom creatures. I don't remember what they're called, but I love them. A walking fungus of lurid hues? Precisely. How about you, citizen? Are you enjoying the Feast of the Exceptional Rose? It's too early to say for certain. Another appointment calls, I'm afraid. Farewell. I had some hopes for myself and Milton once, but he's made it clear that he doesn't see anything more for us than what we've had. He puts it down to the secrets he holds back from me. And the more I press him, the more grand and florid his speech is about hell. You're better off, girl. It's likely just as well. That's what they always say to the secondary heroine. The friend who is disappointed in love rather than the leading character. If he can't man up, you deserve better. I don't see Horatia at first. I do see other faces in the crowd, though. Others I could stop and speak with before I go on if I chose. Speak with Harjeet. Look at his lion mask! You see me out of my proper place. What am I doing at a festival like this? Patrolling? Perhaps you're looking after the crowd. Perhaps. Always the guard, never the citizen. Look after yourself, my friend. May you find what you're seeking. I kept saying the Landaus were my family, but they never chose me. They kept not choosing me. What I've learned is not to rest till I'm with someone who did choose me. Whether that's a spouse or a chosen sibling or an adoptive, I don't know what. So I'm living with the Fitzclarets, which my Catholic mum would say makes me a fallen woman. Like those that lived in camps when I was just a child. But Ivy likes me, and her mother likes me more. She makes me food and calls me pet and honey and sugar. Ivy made me a ritual of coming in to bless taking residence in their home. Short or long, however it may be. So I'm all right. I've got my place now. Good for you, Phoebe. Let's see if Ivy's mad at me. Well, well, what do you think of all this? Seems like fun. Impressive. The fireworks are an inventive touch. It can be improved. It will be improved. There's a mite too much ministry in this feast for my taste. But the heart of it I like. It's an invitation in it to stroll about the city and partake of everything most delicious. The fair, the foul, and what's between the two. Horatia! Horatia isn't here. She can't be here. I can only bring the feast home to her. Before I speak with Horatia again. I contemplate Horatia. Less adoration, please. I need a second to help build what I'm building. Clan of unusual creatures. A lodging house for monsters. No, more than that. Let's say a shell. A shell that looks like a building. A place for those who need to be protected even from one another. Or wish to protect strangers from themselves. I'm not dangerous. Your connections and influences make you more dangerous by the hour. You might need things other than a strong building. Not all the threats in the Neath can be circled in walls. No. There's a great deal of work to do. I don't want to do it alone. Where did Moss go? He just kind of disappeared from the story. London's courts struggle with laws that no longer suit their purpose. The law of murder is only the first of many snags. Inheritance is complicated. Probate becomes a nonsense. Contracts written before the fall contain conditions and requirements that can never be fulfilled. Sometimes the laws are amended, sometimes the judges are corrupted. The Neath defies a strict application of rules. One day I will find the true culprit. Harjeet sets aside the uniform of the constable. He rents his services as guard, guide, and escort through the city. But he has done, he says, as much as he owes to the law. And he does not want to offer it anything more of himself. Good for you, Harjeet. I, however, have not given up. The true murderer is not convicted. The Landaus do not have their answer. There is still work to do. Liberation of roses. The sigil can be interpreted as the parallel of proximate orbits moving in unlikely conjunction. There is still work to do. Achievement unlocked. Flourished. All the possible beginnings of this story are open to you now. Start again, and you may find a very different ending to record on the flank of the bazaar. Alright, interesting. Okay, some of my thoughts. I do applaud them for their creativity. It's a lot of fun to have a different sort of romance game. I enjoy romance games. I think they're fun, especially when they can get a little silly. And I like that this one gives you, like, the, do you want to romance this person? Do you just want to be friends with them? Do you hate them? Let us know. So that's fun. There's definitely some pacing issues. They give you these tasks, and I'm just not sure how to do them or how to apply them. I'm sure I really messed up that accusation game, but I didn't really understand why some things in one column would change the other and not. I don't really understand that. And, like, it does feel a little rushed. Like, obviously you can do a lot more choices. Like, you could have pursued talking to the guy from the church more. It feels to me like Moss just sort of fell out of the story, but I'm sure if you'd actually like got to know him and did the census with him, he probably wouldn't just disappear from the story. It was really hard to balance all of the things. Like, obviously, with all Fallen London games, like, you do not get the chance to do all of the things. You have to choose and you have to prioritize. But usually with Sunless Sea and Sunless Skies, if you can just be good enough to survive long enough, you can go back and see things you missed or redo things that you messed up. I'm thinking, like, when I played Sunless Seas, the first time I did the, like, war between the hamsters and the guinea pigs or whatever, or rats and the guinea pigs that you keep coming back to. And also, like, the house with the three sisters. Like, those are things that I've absolutely messed up multiple times. But by the nature of the game of, like, really easily dying and going, you got to go back to those stories frequently and try different things. And obviously you can replay this game, but it doesn't quite have that same level of immersion. Because, like, there was continuity even in dying and starting over. You could leave things to your descendants. You could leave things to yourself for your next game. There's Neath a Musical. Amazing. Friday Afternoon Tea. I did a trade with them at a convention once. I should get back in touch with them. Anyway, this one, there's not so much of a continuity. And you're right. A lot of focus is on replay. Yeah. And the delicious Fallen London community that kept us on kettles and cloaks. That's adorable. There's definitely, like, it's very clear they want you to replay this multiple times. I think a lot of my frustrations with the game boil down to they want you to replay the game multiple times rather than, I don't know, writing a story that makes me want to go back and try it multiple times in different ways and see what the outcome is. It's like, I don't want to see what would happen if I did this rather than that. It's more that I feel like even though we just completed the game, I'm still half in the dark and I don't know how to do things. So it's still trying to figure out what I'm doing and how to get there. That's kind of where I feel right now. Is like, what do you want from me? And I don't feel like I should feel like that at the end of the game. I know all of that sounds really negative. I do really like it. I think the art was really pretty. I love the character designs. I love that they feel like real people. And, like, for logical reasons of, like, yeah, if you bust in and start asking somebody a bunch of questions, they're not gonna answer you. Because they don't know you, or they don't like you, or you've annoyed them or offended them in some way. So I like that, like, you do have to, like, change up your look and your approach based on who you're talking to get different results. I really like that part. I like that, like I said, everybody feels like a real person that's really trying to figure out what's happening in this world and what they do about it. Art, absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, I really love the creativity of, like, who do you want to be? And what do you actually want out of this game? I kind of wish there wasn't the high stakes murder. Like, either make a romance game that's focused on, like, winning over people and trying to get things done, or make a murder mystery game. Make a murder mystery game that you have to fit clues together and talk to people. Right now, it kind of felt like two very separate games that just kind of mushed together for ideas. Yeah, let's look at the options for starting a new game. Yep, this warning that they gave is at the front. Your first foray will not end as happily as you would hope. Never mind. London fell, blah, blah, blah. We know all of this. Look at her. She's so pretty. Such a dark and creepy atmosphere. Okay, so our options are, these ones were open already. A dock worker's child, a child of the gentry, and a tailor. Now we can also be a housebreaker's child. My father was a housebreaker. His father was a highwayman. We came down in the world, no longer doing our crimes on horseback, and then my father was arrested. The situation furnishes some connections, not always friendly, on both sides of the law. Interesting. An undertaker. My family were undertakers. We knew everything there was to know about procuring hearses, hiring mourners, and dressing a body. Undertakers have some society contacts, and they know their share of vicars. An arcane academic. I studied the esoteric writings of the hierarchies of spirits, the language of angels, the practical powers of creation. I have friends in high places and am familiar with the church's ways, whether I agree with it or not. Okay, so those are our 3 new ones. Undertaker, I think, would open up the most, like, obvious changes. But yeah. So definitely some replayability, a lot of fun options to choose. I think I will mostly play this again in my own free time, where I don't have to struggle with reading the voices and whatnot, because it is fun. But yeah, this is something I want to play myself, trying to figure stuff out, and I think you guys should go play for yourselves too. So next time we'll play another game. I will I'll look at the last poll I put and see if something really obvious jumps out, or maybe I'll put up a new poll if not. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and leave it here. I'm gonna go get a snack. See, have a great week, y'all. And oh my god, I'll see you in July. Because next time will be July 2nd. Isn't that wild? Alright. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Lights they flicker and the candles glitter like you're in a thriller. Heart goes pum pum pum. Ghostly figures they can get so bitter. Sure you want to aim till you can turn back. You don't know where I've been. What's going on inside? Where the monsters like to come alive, come alive. Do you really wanna know me? I'm really not that cozy. It's up to you, so you decide, you decide. Would you love me up my words till the coffin's in the dirt? Try to break me